fellow Stardust. Are you ready for a scare? Thank you, everyone, for joining me today for a very special live stream. I've got three amazing guests with me, and we'll be talking about some of our favorite psychological thrillers. Feel free to share with us your favorite psychological thrillers in the comments and ask questions or talk about, anything you want to talk about with the movies that we'll be discussing today. So let me go ahead and introduce everyone real quick here. First, we've got Triv from Trivial Theater.
Hey, how's it going? So excited to be here. Happy early Halloween.
Woo, happy early Halloween. Thank you so much for being here. Triv has an amazing channel where she and usually a guest will riff about some obscure or some well-known horror movies, and I've actually had the honor of being a guest on her show where I was an actual talking avatar. So that was super fun. You can find the link for that video down in the description. All right, let's go ahead and bring in guest number 2. What up, Joe?
Hi, everyone. Very coy-looking face. How are you? How is everyone doing tonight?
Yes, this is Joe from Geeky Hijinks. He's also a part of the Cinema Squad. And I actually did a live stream with them not too long ago on their channel, the Cinema Squad. We talked about horror films, and it was actually their first shooting the S word. I'm trying, I guess, not to cuss on my channel, but it's shooting the shot, if you want to say, but the other one, or shooting the shoot, maybe.
Change it to squirrel for making more chocolate, so you can say it.
And you can find the link down in the description for that discussion as well. And last but certainly not least, we have Mike from Video Creep.
Hi. So good to be here, man.
Yeah, Mike is a huge fan of horror, and he's also an even bigger fan of Chucky. So he's been doing all the reviews on the new episodes of the latest season of Chucky. So definitely check those out. And recently I did the letter of the day for one of his movie reviews for
Hey, Dad. That was Mike. You did a great job.
That video, I just cracked up just like for the first 5 minutes because you're literally just talking about how you're stealing from me, and I just cannot stop laughing about it. It was just too good. So definitely check that video out, you guys. All right. So yeah. Again, we're just going to talk about some psychological thrillers here. Let me just go ahead and take a look in the chat here. Scare Bear, who was supposed to also be here, he wasn't supposed to be here. Terrence Maguana had actually asked him, but him having the time difference and work and all of that, he isn't able to make it today into the chat or into just even the live chat or the chat, in the messenger. So missing you, Terrence. I know you're going to catch the replay on this one. And we've got Brandon in the house saying hello. That's my B-man over there saying what's up. And we've got Dan. What's up, Dan? How you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Hey,
He's
Dan.
also a part of the Suicide Squad, the Cinema Squad.
Nice.
I'll get shot in a minute, aren't I? Well, I lasted long.
Yes.
Also, Brandon, that is a lovely watermelon.
Yeah, that's for his production company, Treasury Melon.
Nice.
I thought you meant me for a second. I was like, I was looking on my screen, like, where the hell? What's she looking at?
You just let her call you Brandon and be like, yeah, okay, she's calling me Brandon, but where's the watermelon that she's...
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the part of me that's a zombie looks at your head and goes, that's a lovely melon.
Oh, thank you.
Bet you it's tender and juicy.
It's oversized. Barely fit through the door these days. Like a pop
We've also
Funko.
got Lisa in the house. What's up? What's up? Thanks for joining us. Lisa was actually on my live stream last week, and she was a part of my horror guessing game, which I had so much fun with that I will likely do another game again. I had been wanting to do a game for so long, and it was so much fun that I just want to keep doing it. It might not always have a super cool prize at the end of it, but definitely more games on this channel for sure.
Sounds like a very friendly version of Saw you got going on there.
Basically, yeah. And we also have in the house Can Be Bought Creep. This looks like a viewer of yours. Welcome to the channel. Thank you.
What's up, Can Be?
Thank you for being here this evening. All right, so we'll just start off with a simple little question. Just, what we look for or what elements are needed in a psychological thriller that we love. So after we talk about that a little bit, then we'll go through the movies that are some of our favorites. All right, so anybody who wants to kick it off, what is something that you look for or really want in a good psychological thriller?
Who wants
Here.
to start?
So I think like thrillers and horror, like they fucking piggyback on one another so well, just because you want the exact same thing on both of those things. Like you want an amazing element of like subversion. So like if I think everything is going in this direction, for the love of God, take me like the other direction. That's where I want to go. Like I can't think of a more cardinal sin than just anticipating what's supposed to happen in the thriller.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Triv, what about you?
I think that at least for everybody's got different definitions. It's kind of a broad thing, and then you kind of narrow it down by those little things that make it stand out for you. It's not necessarily the most bloody of the horror genre, but what it lacks in blood, it makes up for, like Video Creep said, in like that extra just thing, whether it's like the elephant in the room that the one guy knows about and no one else does, and when are they going to find it, or if it's that thing that keeps you on the edge of the seat. There's always that one thing that just keeps you there until the end, and then it goes
Yes, definitely. I feel that. And how about you, Joe?
I think for me, like when someone wants to watch a thriller and a psychological thriller, they're two completely different things, aren't they? So for me, a psychological thriller, it needs to be in here the entire time. Like it's the meat on the bone, just the dialogue. It's it's essentially just making you question what you're watching, and sometimes you're on the side of the badness that's going on. It's meant to be like, it's not just it's like psychoanalyzing you as you're watching the film. So for me, it's a good psychological thriller. I thought we were talking about Disney, so this little list I had prepared is useless right now. So yeah, that's what I think.
I know you're used to talking about Disney movies with the Cinema Squad
No,
and
I
things,
don't.
but not on
I
this.
hate Disney.
Well, y'all talk about superhero movies, not the same thing, but there's some Disney on that channel. Am I right or am I
I'd
wrong?
rather talk about Coraline. That's my jam. So that's that's a psychological thriller right there. I should have picked that one.
Sure. Yeah. For me, I need something kind of big to happen at the beginning of the film, or at least something dramatic just to kind of get me on my toes. I just need to be tense the entire time. I need to, from the opening credits to the climax, I just need to feel like I'm on edge. That's one of my biggest things. And sometimes it could happen like 5, 10, 15 minutes in. Sometimes it happens right away. But when I know I'm kind of on edge within that 15 or so minutes, then I know the rest of the movie is probably going to be pretty good,
To piggyback off of that, and just like from the beginning all the way through shit, like and stuff. Sorry, I'm gonna try my best to rein that in. Try my best. When you guys go into a movie like a good thriller for you, do you like your main character that you're following the whole time to be super empathetic, or do you like it where it's like a stakes thing and kind of a bad person, and then you're kind of like following them, and you know that they're a bad person inherently, but because we're caring with them, we care about them. Do you like a good person to follow in a thriller, or do you like someone who's a little dirty?
I think I like both. I can go either way, but I think I might be more invested and emotional over somebody who I care for versus somebody who is maybe kind of bad. I'm just excited to see the next best up thing. I want to see how vile and evil they can get. Just I want to see how far they'll go. But with a good person, I'm pulling on those like heartstrings where I'm like, oh, let's just hope for them. And I guess I kind of like both of those equally. So yeah. For
I'm a, oh,
go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I like good is always a good thing to have, but give me someone that is like more than just one dimensional. If you've got someone that like
Oh yeah.
they're a bad person, but they've got like depth to them, where they're not just like, you know, evil guy in the corner with, you know, twisting his mustache or whatever. That's the most intrinsically interesting character to me, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent.
Sure, exactly. Like a good person needs to have at least a few or a couple of bad things about them, and a bad person, you know, an antagonist needs to have at least one or two also redeeming qualities, just to kind of make you care. Like, oh, I could see why they would be that person. Like the Joker, you know, he's a bad person because he starts, you know, to kill people sometimes, maybe at random, but you understand that it's from something much bigger. You know, he was being ignored by just everyone and not being taken care of with his mental health and all of that. But he is, you know, in every sense of the word, a villain, you know, by the end of it, and probably in part two, well, definitely in part two. You know, even with American Psycho, you know, he's, or I guess not even with, but on the other hand, then you have American Psycho. We don't necessarily know his childhood. Is that right? We just know he just kind of just got swelled up with power. What was his redeeming quality in American Psycho?
He was really good in bed.
It's a really good business card as well. And great moisturizer.
That's a bad example. That's a bad example. I guess he's a good example of somebody who doesn't have any redeeming qualities, I guess. But we were still, I think we connected with his victims, which is kind of interesting because while we followed him through the movie, we were able to connect with his victims who we only saw just a little bit of time. And so we were invested in them pretty, you know, quickly. You know, that one prostitute who came back a couple of times, you know, she was our mini protagonist for a little bit of time. And that was just as exciting as the Joker for me, you know? So,
yeah. That's right where I fall. I love those characters with these like blatant flaws that like you still like give me like a Tony Soprano or like a fucking like a Walter White type, you know, like some like a rebel with a cause kind of thing. I love seeing somebody who thinks that they have it all together get into a situation that's way above their head. That's my favorite thing. The easiest way to like rip me in the throat.
I think it's like a case of where it's almost showing everyone that they've got flaws and what would make them break and get to breaking bad, you could say. But the Sham Hill night. So what I was gonna say about I think like for me it's a case of like someone holding up a mirror at you, like, and like things like American Psycho. He's a terrible person, but he's almost romanticizes you throughout the film. So if that makes sense. It's like you're like,
I'll give you that.
You know what I mean? Every time he pops on the screen, you're like fascinated by him. Like, hey, I'm with you again. You're terrible. Why do I like you so much? I want to know more.
Yeah,
he is charming in his way. Like you say, there is that kind of you know, kind of wines and dines you, and everything about him. You know, even though you're like, this guy is terrible, he just chopped up someone with a chainsaw. You kind of go, you know, he's still got that charm thing, you know, that 3-piece suit, that, you know, that knowledge of music, that class that you would expect from someone of that nature. Even though he's not Hannibal Lecter, but he's kind of got a little bit of that to him.
Right. Exactly.
I just love that scene in American Psycho when he's got what's his name, Paul, you know, in his apartment. And he's like, "Hey, are you wearing like a what he says about a jacket or something? He's got an axe. Is that an axe?" And he's like, "That's right, Paul." You know what I mean? He's so he's so happy and it's so casual with it. Like, "Is that an axe? That's right, Paul."
Yeah. All right.
Well, now whack you in a non-sexy way with it.
Right. Right. You got yours. I'm gonna get mine. That's how this goes.
And the whole and I know it's done to death, but just the business card scene, like the comparison, and that's obviously not a thing that comes into suspenseful horror or suspenseful thrillers, but just that scene is just so like, it's so precise and so sharp, and it's just
look at that font.
Yeah, it's incredibly well written.
It's that pressure cooker thing that like you look for in a thriller or any kind of suspense. Is that like oh, that situation is happening, but we know this other situation is happening. This situation's far more interesting than that other thing. Like I love that.
Do you think there's a similar situation in our film community where someone comes on a live stream and goes, "Look at that logo, that thumbnail."
I will fully admit that I am that type. 100%. I go to somebody's channel and it's just like, oh, their color
Look at
scheme.
it.
It's so
It's
good.
not that thing with Ryan Gosling. They're using papayas.
Yeah, exactly.
Papayas, pepperus, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's a red flag.
Damn it, Comic Sans.
Somewhere in between, like, like American Psycho and just like doing that on like our level and stuff. Like, there's some help there. Like, right? It's just progression, trying to be better.
What's up, Chris? Thank you for coming on in. Appreciate you.
Hey.
D Movie Man. Oh wait, I skipped by accident. D Movie Man, what's up? What's up? Thank you for dropping in. He was also here last week for our horror guessing game. He says, "I love a good psychological thriller. Can't wait to hear what you all have to say." Awesome, awesome. Yes, oh girlfriend, you definitely should. Lisa loves. You will love that. It's gonna be one of your favorites, real quick. And I forget the director's name, but she's a woman, and that's really cool. From the perspective of a man, it's just super cool that she directed American Psycho. And we've got Mr. Robin Lover. He's new to the channel. Welcome, welcome, you guys. Happy nearly Halloween to the USA from the country that brought you Samoa. I always say that incorrectly. We went to see Smile. It definitely has psychological thriller vibes. Yes. What is this? Invisible Man. Shades of Invisible Man. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
You can see him, can't you? If the Invisible Man's wearing shades.
Does he wear his sunglasses at night, though?
There we go.
One thing to avoid American Psycho 2, because that is hot garbage, warmed over.
Oh, yeah. I have.
Is that Mila Kunis?
Oof. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Oof. It's
Yeah, I apologize, folks. I'm trying to avoid
understood.
And not you, I'm just telling the viewers too, because just in case they might not know, because they might go to y'all's channels and know that it's cool. But I do try to keep it cuss free on my channel. But something slips out, it's not going to be a big deal. I don't care. No biggie at all.
Oh, flippity poop.
No!
I got Tourette's.
Ay. All right, well, let's go ahead with our first movie, and we'll start with Triv. Go ahead and tell us what your first movie pick out of 2 is, and tell us, a quick little summary and why it's one of your favorites.
My first one is 1947's Rope from Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
I adore this movie on so many levels. It's probably my favorite Hitchcock movie. The basic story is we start with 2 guys basically strangling a third in a very nice apartment, and then they shove him inside of a chest thing, and then basically they invite the dead guy's parents, his fiance, the teacher, and there's a couple of other people that are there too, and they end up having setting up dinner like as a buffet on top of the chest. They kind of play around with the notion of like kind of poking at it, like the rope used to kill him at one point reappears, binding up some books. It is all kinds of weird, and it's like there's this elephant in the room the entire time, and you're going, okay, when are they going to find out? When is the body going to start smelling? Because that it's going to start smelling.
Exactly.
But it is it was the stuff behind the scenes too was really cool on it. It was shot in, I think, 8-10-minute segments or thereabouts. So it's basically one solid shot for between 4 to 10 minutes, depending on the shot. And then it would go to a stationary thing and then pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually went back and reshot 3 or 4 of them because Hitchcock wasn't happy with the way that the lighting was. So as the night goes on, in the background, you see the lighting changes, to dusk and dark. Jimmy Stewart plays he's not unscrupulous by any stretch, but he's definitely not the, you know, wholesome night or
Merry Christmas, everyone.
yeah, exactly. Thank you. A Wonderful Life guy that we know. It's a fascinating movie. It was actually an early, like it was considered not great in its day because it involved what could be perceived as a homosexual relationship between the two main guys. They talk about choking a chicken at one point, which they actually meant choking an actual chicken, not the other, but you know. But fascinating movie, and just the fact that you're on the edge of your seat with this dead body literally in the middle of the room. It's just a great movie on a lot of levels.
Definitely a perfect example of why I like, psychological thrillers, because the first shot is the dude getting choked out and dying, and you have one guy who's super excited about what just happened and having this party with all of his family and friends, and the other dude just kind of freaking out thinking they're going to get caught, and they're just bickering right after they've put this dude in the chest. And when the people get there, the dude who has been worrying this whole time gets even more worked up, and you just know it's gonna, blow up in both of their faces. And it's just a little bit just added each second, and it's just so tense, literally the entire time. I love it.
No, I think it's a great film. For me, it's the nearest. 'Cause I love Hitchcock. I think Rear Window is my favorite Hitchcock film. Yeah, this is probably the nearest thing you can be at to watching a stage play at home, because it literally has those vibes. And because I was like, is this film done in all one shot? And I was thinking, this is amazing. And then but then, like you said, there's little things where they'll go past someone's coat, and then there's but for that day and age, incredible how they can make it look so seamless to be one continuous film. But I love the characters, and yeah, it's I just love that era of like American cinema. It's like, how you doing there, chum? You know?
And they're so polite. It's so funny to me, if I may say this, and just all of that just gets me every time. Just
listen here, Shay.
And then you've got the one lady that I think she's like semi-fortune teller.
Yeah,
so she's kind of like
she's into astrology.
Yeah, like that whole, and the fact that like it is basically, I think, an hour 20, hour 30 in one basic space. They had to move walls, they had to move furniture, they had to, everyone had to know their stuff. If there was one person that wasn't on, you'd absolutely have to redo everything. And it was an incredibly interesting movie.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
See, I love that film specifically because it really reminds me of like just very playful films in the like spectrum. Like it has very strong like April Fool's Day. Like that movie. It has like this playful nature to it, like that, or like Clue or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it just I love having fun in a film where it's we know the thing that's happening. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like specifically with them doing the murder, and then like kind of seeing how they would go about like inviting people to the crime scene. That is fun. Like that puts me in a happy space, because then I feel like maybe I killed them too, and like if they get caught, maybe I get caught. Man, like there's stakes are high. I love that.
I will say one thing though. Where it made me laugh though, like the first shot you see like the street, and then he goes towards the curtains, and you just say, "Ah!" I won't lie, I was cracking up at that one part. That was the only part I laughed at, because I thought, who dies like that? I'd be like, "Ah, me!" Not like, "Oh." But yeah.
Well, if you think about it, some people get off on killing. So in theory, if they were really that much into it, one of them could have had, a good time for all involved, at the time. So you don't really see waist down. So who knows?
You're like tickling him. Stop it! Oh.
Exactly. You're both killing him and tickling him. That just feels weird.
Best step ever.
Just for fun, I watched the trailer for Rope, and it's pretty satisfying because it's basically a conversation between Janet and the dude that they kill, and they're just kind of talking about, let's get engaged at this time. And he's like, well, time doesn't matter because we're already practically engaged. So we get to see the relationship between Janet and him, and that's just super cool because it's because I hate watching trailers, period, but that would have been a cool trailer to see back in the 40s and then have that movie go down the way that it did. So
Absolutely.
that was super cool.
It also has one of the best, at least in my opinion, Hitchcock cameos. He shows up as Neon in the background, like you see his silhouette in the background.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, because I was looking out for a cameo because I know he does him. I couldn't find it.
Well, and there's people that say, and I think that happens a lot with Hitchcock movies, where he was down on the street at the beginning, but I've watched the movie a couple times and I can't find him. Not that means anything, but
Awesome. All right. Well, let's move on to Joe's first movie. Which movie do you want to talk about?
Well, it was Lion King, so I need to improvise very, very quickly. Now, my first one is Misery.
Misery.
Of course.
Great one.
It's
Yeah.
one of my favorite, probably one of my favorite films of all time. Probably
Same.
one of my favorite horror films of all time.
Mhm.
Even though it's got horrific moments. Like you said, it piggybacks. They're not horror and psychological thrillers. You can take it as both. But essentially, the story is a Stephen King story about a writer called Paul who goes to this cabin in the winter. That's where he writes all his books, and he's got this character called Misery, which he has a series of books written about. And as he's driving back home, he has a car crash, and he's rescued by a lady called Annie Wilkes, who happens to be a massive Misery fan, and he takes her back. She takes him back. I can do the robot. She takes him back to her house, looks after him, and everything's going well. She's a very obsessed fan, and then she happens to read the pages of his new book and finds out that Misery is going to die, and she's furious about this. And she does everything in her power to get the story changed. She keeps him prisoner. There's a detective or really likable sheriff that that is investigating the disappearance, and it's just a great film for me. I watched this film when I was in high school, secondary school over here. I'm watching it with my sister, and I can watch it every year, and it feels like a new film to me every single time. Like when she goes to the store to buy that specific writing paper he wants, and he's trying to move around the house, and he nudges the penguin ornament and stuff like that, and he you've seen this film 1,000 times, but you're still like, oh God, she's pulling up to the house, get back into the bed. But it's just the fact that a character like her comes across as quite simple, but yet she's always about 3 steps ahead of him because he thinks he's the smarter one in this relationship. And it's just it's like a really cat and mouse, but the mouse is chasing the cat kind of story. Do you know what I mean? When culminates in a great ending, and love it, absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
See,
So
that's one of those movies for me that I tend to be far more interested in what's going on with Annie than I do with him. And she's not the better person in that situation at all. But I can't help but when I'm most enjoying that film and I'm most gripped is when she is in the room. Although, from my perspective, I would probably be the one in bed and trying to sneak around and stuff.
Well, and she's got that whole a good villain makes a good movie, and she is, for however simple she is a fascinating villain.
She's done it before, so that's why she's that ahead of Paul, because she had her husband who she's gone through. Who else has she done this with? This is his first time coming across a psychopath like her. So, for that, he does a really good job in learning her pretty quickly and figuring out how to finally get ahead of her. She's had her practice, and she's also had her childhood that we know nothing about, which would make an amazing film, kind of like Pearl. I want to see the origins of Annie. She's got her crucifix around her neck, and she doesn't cuss, but she's able to do these vile, terrible things. It's okay because she's justifying it in her mind, just like Homeboy from American Psycho.
But it's also how she can just switch on a dime as well, like the famous scene with the ankles, that scene, everything. No one really talks about the music with that scene as well. That scene, the music that goes with it, the dialogue, and the acting is bellissimo. And but it's how she can go from being so terrifying to then going, oh Paul, I love you. And you're like, what is wrong with you, lady?
And Kathy Bates's eyes are just so perfect because you see that shift in her, where she's sweet and then psychotic. You just see it in those moments, It's great.
It's really like you get like Netflix and they release a new thriller and stuff, or the new psychological thriller, and like on Facebook and stuff. They have. Do you have Lad Bible in the US, or do you have something like that? It's kind of like a web.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yep.
It's a stupid thing over here in the UK where people like talk. It's really dumb, and it's like when Terrifier comes out, they're going crazy new film Terrifier. It's like it's been out for like 4 years, guys. What are you talking about? jumping on the bandwagon. But when I see like new best thriller, I'm like, look, you can take a film like Misery or Rope, and it's still better than most thrillers that people are making now because they're just nicked ideas, stolen ideas.
Exactly.
I gotta ask, since you picked Misery as your pick, how did you feel about like the Castle Rock season 2 take on?
I you know what? I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because there's some things that are too sacred to me. Like for example, Indiana Jones, the original trilogy, is just my childhood, wrapped up in a cuddly ball, and I'll never watch any sequels, the new one that's being made or the Crystal Skull, because there's some things that I can't have added in my brain. Because you only watch a film, for example, Halloween Ends. I don't know how anyone feels about that and stuff. And you watch the first one now, but then there's so many different endings. It's kind of like, which one are you linking that film to? Do you know what I mean? It's like, give me the first one, and it's going to stay as a solid movie instead of like spilling it off.
No, I
I'm poetic.
Oh, I got it.
If I could clap,
oh, go for it.
I was going to say, if I could clap, I would clap your artistic nature, because yes.
Why, thank you. That's why I'm wearing glasses today. Makes me look smarter.
What's up, Danny B? Thank you for popping into the chat. I appreciate you. And let's see, we also got Jessica Marie. Misery is definitely rewatchable. Welcome to the channel. This is probably her first time, I imagine. Thank you.
Good taste in
girlfriend. I love her.
You what?
No, I said that's my girlfriend.
Oh, okay. That's your
I love her.
What's up, girl? What's up?
Does she
You
know?
really have good taste.
I actually haven't seen Crystal Rock or Crystal Skull.
I refuse to. I love that logo. I hate him.
Yeah, Misery is definitely one that I can rewatch over and over and see. Like, you can see something new in every single film that you watch, but that one in particular, like, I'll put it on maybe as like background noise or something, but I just end up watching it more than I have it just be background because I'm just so involved with it. I just love it that much.
With your Hoover having a fit in the background. Hell, turn me off.
Yeah.
So I do. Go ahead.
I think we all have like that movie that like we've seen a million times, but no matter what, it just has that magic to it.
Yeah.
It's like for me, that movie is Carrie. Like every time that I watch Carrie, even to put it on like idly, it's like I've ruined my night. Like if I'm like, I'm just gonna clean my room, I'm gonna watch Carrie in the back. I know what's gonna happen. I don't have to watch it. And then like I will end up sitting there just like, how could they do her like that? How could they do her like that? She did not deserve that.
Why didn't they help her? Why didn't the teacher do more? That friend could have done even more too. Like, why? Everybody could have been saved. It could have all just been fine. She just needed a little boyfriend.
She had dirty pillows, all right? You can't get away with that crap in this country.
Every time I watch Carrie, I'm just like, she has a real chance at life, this one. She's going to be okay.
You turn it off at a certain point. Well, she killed everyone. The film was great.
Right.
It ends there.
You know what you do? You get yourself a prayer closet the way that she did, and then you just, you set that up as, okay, this is my prayer closet for the day. I'm going to clean this while Carrie is doing her thing in the prayer closet.
That makes me want to, like, we're all editors here. Like, fucking, that makes me want to, like, recut Carrie and just, like, make it, like, the happy version. Like, what would have happened if, like, things went okay?
I've yet to see a fan edit of a movie, but I'm intrigued and I need to already and just see what's up with those.
There's actually a really funny version, and it's totally recut, but they did Mary Poppins as a horror movie.
I saw this. It's amazing.
I've seen that. Oh, wonderful.
And then they have Must Love Jaws, so they turn Jaws into a love story.
Thanks for
I've seen
stopping
that with
by,
Mrs.
Terrence.
Doubtfire too. Like there's
That's
so
good
many
sweet.
of those, and they're
Ooh,
cool.
Oh, yeah.
Mrs. Doubtfire would be awesome. That was my SHIT. Hey, yes. Or I guess it probably still is because I just love me some Robin Williams all day, every day, and everything. He's the man.
Oh yeah.
I gotta ask, when was the last time you circled back to Mrs. Doubtfire?
Shoot.
Oh.
Exactly.
I mean,
we all love it. No one's watching it, but we all have this great
but
opinion.
I did. It was like at least 6 or 7 years ago. I'm not gonna lie. It was
that's closer than me. That's
That's
closer.
pretty recent because I just love that one. Like, not I love the whole thing, but if one of my favorite parts is like the dance, and I just needed to see it.
Ooh.
You know,
On the
or they're
table.
doing that, and then I just love the cream on the face for whatever reason.
Help is on the way, Missy.
And I just, I just had it in my head. Sorry, and I just wanted to see it. That's why I saw it.
I like to stick my head in a cream pie every now and again, just because it's like, hey, I'm gonna stick my head in a cream pie.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
It's great for the skin. You have no idea how good all that sugar and stuff is for your skin.
Right, just opens up the pores, just
It
gets
does.
in there.
Exfoliates a little bit,
Actually, what
Anytime you
I'm
see someone exceptionally cute, it's because that's what they're doing.
Exactly.
line pile up in the face.
How do you think I keep my face line free?
Girl, don't share all your secrets. Don't share all your secrets.
Oh,
So my son is like, he's like, as he's finding his way through the LGBT and stuff, he is tearing me apart. He's like 14 now, and like,
Oh snap! I didn't even know.
Aw.
yeah, I have
So
two kids.
cool.
I have two kids. I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old.
No
And-
idea, bro. That's cool.
So we go to like Bath and Body Works, and we're like talking about skincare stuff, and I'm like, I just clean up with soap and shit, and he's like, like he's like mortified by me that I'm not like. I learned that I'm supposed to use like there's body lotion and then specific
Face
hand lotion and then face lotion. He's like pissed at me, like I've done him dirty, that like I'm not like doing specific things with my face and stuff.
Is
And
he
he's like,
I'm good. I've had to do the same for Brandon. We've been together now at least 7 years, and he's starting to get into the lotion routine and the differences and things. So,
it's a
we eventually get
different
there.
world. He bought me a concealer for my videos because he's like, you look tired. You look tired. Okay, man.
See, I brought some of that for myself because literally I had the same thing. And I was like, I'm going to use all this. So I put it on my eyes and I had like an allergic reaction to it. So I was like,
no.
hello, everyone. Where are you? Yeah.
You know what you say to your
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
I was just gonna say, you say to your son that the reason that he's got such nice skin and you only had to use lotion for the longest time is because it's good genetics from you to him.
I just gave it to you, man. I just gave it to you. I will give him the credit though. Like it works. It works. I put that on my eyes. I'm like a new guy. I'm like, whoa, who's this dude?
I think when I have children, I'm just gonna instead of a crib, I'm just gonna use a pie now, a cream pie. Just put them inside it. Good night, my sweet one. I see you in the morning.
Yeah, if anyone's like, why are you doing that to your child? Be like, don't tell me I'm a parent. Like,
I literally used an exfoliator today that has actual sugar in it. So
Ooh.
it's really a thing. It's a thing.
I mean, they
thought
have
you
like
were
sugar
sweet
scrubs
enough.
and stuff, don't
Yeah,
they?
exactly. Yep. Just want to say what's up to Josie. Thank you so much for showing up today. She's one of my patrons, and she actually won the horror guessing game last week. She was killing it. And then we had sorry with my brain. Who was kicking your butt for a second? Josie. Oh, it was Neil from Neon Black Reviews.
Nice.
And then out of nowhere, Bloodbath and Beyond, because we had 1 point movie guesses, 2 point movie guesses, and then 3 point movie guesses. And then Bloodbath and Beyond came in at the last round, and he's starting to, rack up all the high points. But she was able to come back from, that little bit of a losing streak for a couple of rounds and won the whole thing. So thank you for being here.
She's rocking some pretty amazing nails too.
Oh yeah, she actually has a nail channel, so she's all about the nails. Yeah.
What a winner.
She's nailing it.
What a winner.
She's a cuticle, sorry. I was gonna say she's a cuticle above, but that doesn't make any sense.
I'll piggyback on you. She's a cuticle queen.
Oh,
Right?
there you go.
Right?
There you go.
Right?
I like
Right?
it. I like it.
All right, Michael, let's go ahead and talk about your first movie pick of two.
Sure. So one of the first two that I picked was Funny Games. I love Funny Games. I think it's one of the first like psychological thrillers that I had ever seen that I was just like so like I didn't know what was gonna happen. I didn't know what direction we were gonna go in. For those who don't know it, Funny Games is about it could even be considered just a home invasion. Like it like in most ways I say that it is. A family goes to a vacation house where they are these two young lads, a little theme in both of my films. These two lads come in and they seem nice enough, and all they're doing is doing the neighbor thing. They want like some eggs, they just want a little kindness, a little sweetness. And even in their niceness, there's this weird dread to the way that they're talking to Naomi. Oh my god, what's her name?
What's her name in
It's
the movie?
What?
Good
Naomi,
man.
what's her name?
Well, Naomi, what? Look at you! Look at you! Yeah, there's just something very sinister, even in those good moments, which is funny because earlier in Rope, you brought up that how polite they are. Like, there's something about even with American Psycho, there's something about someone who can maintain their integrity morally, like or morally, but still
composure.
just be so disgusting and like such a bad person. And the film goes on and they kind of like put this family through the ringer with like some truly deplorable things. And you're kind of there for the ride. You don't know if this family's gonna make it out. You don't know what these kids are capable of. And that's one of the big things that pulls me in, especially with movies like this. I am so scared of children. Like I am so scared of them because like I remember being a teenager. I do, and like I didn't have that thing, that like not looking outside yourself thing. You don't understand repercussions for your actions. So anytime I could see a kid that's really far gone, I'm just like, oh, this is bad. This is gonna be bad.
Yeah, this was just a nightmare. It's it happens, in the real world, the you know, set in reality, what's the word I'm looking for, the phrase I'm looking for, that I say all the time that I can't think of right now, but it's just so plausible. And this is another one where right from the beginning, you're kind of freaking out because they're talking to their neighbors and their neighbors are acting kind of funny because you're going into this knowing it's a psychological thriller. You're like, all right, something's about to happen here in just literal, 2 seconds. And when homeboy comes over asking for the eggs, you're just settling right in and it's going to just get really freaking nasty. And you can go ahead and talk about what exactly he does to these people, like the deplorable things, because it's crazy.
I mean, it is still new. I don't want to ruin it for anyone.
2007?
It has just come out.
Spoiled, y'all. Every movie we're talking about is going to be spoiled. So just go ahead and just tell it because it's so good.
Well, all right. Well, then, like a little sexual trigger warning. I think the scene
Trigger
with
warning.
the wife is one of the most like memorable things about that movie because he makes the wife kind of like get undressed and like luckily it doesn't go too far into that red.
Just to stop you there, it's funny, I guess because it's Naomi Watts, but she takes off her bra and her underwear, but then in the next shot, those things are back on her body.
Right.
And I think it's because, they're like, well, let's just not show her completely naked, but you get the idea. She should be naked.
Just that scene specifically for me, I think is really messed up because like as I identify as a he, him, as a man, just
right, because the husband is broken and he can't do anything. He's there helpless while this is happening.
To be around anyone that to be around anyone that you love, like just so deeply, like that's his wife, his betrothed, like that's his number one everything, and then to know that he can do nothing as like something just terrible is happening to her. Just the heartbreak of that scene is just
the look on his face is perfect. And he's older and she's 35, 37, and he's clearly 40 or 50, so you can just see his whole life flashing before his eyes, thinking like, oh, I should have just let her go and find a younger, stronger man who can defend her honor and all this. Why did she choose me? And you know, I don't feel like she has those thoughts. Honestly, I don't think she's thinking like, oh, why can't he do this? Why can't he do that? But I just had this feeling that he's thinking that she might be thinking that, you know?
Of course. Of course. The last thing you ever want to be perceived as is weak.
Yeah.
Like, no matter who you are, like you want your fortitude to come through strong. And it's for situations like that. It's like in these extreme situations, I got you, boo. Like you want that to know that he couldn't, and to
in a
see
weird
that
way,
couldn't.
you almost hope that stuff kind of happens so you can rescue your wife or your husband or your person. You know,
don't you make me have to prove that I can't do it. don't you do it. Don't you do it.
I want to say hello real quick to Mush Hegener. What's up? I think you're new to the channel as well. Welcome. Did I already say hello to you? I don't think I did. I just wanted to stop and say what's up. And thank you for your comments. All right, let's keep going. What happens to the sun right after that scene?
Right. The son gets some balls. The son gets some balls. Like he's like, you know what? My dad's broken. My mom's never seen her like that before.
Right.
I'm gonna pick up the shotgun. I'm gonna handle this. And it does not work out well for him in the end. The son does not make it out that movie.
Because you said he's got balls and then he gets ballistics.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Balls went right to his head. Right to his head.
Dead jokes for the win.
He tries to kill one of the killers or one of the tormentors who are killers, and then the gun ends up being empty. And then I guess that happened in another house. I think it was in the neighbor's house, and then he runs back to where his parents are, and the 5 of them are in the room where the TV is. And, you know, the little boy, I think, is smarter than what, you know, most people might think, because he knows after he just failed at his attempt to killing this dude that it's not going to be good after that. And sure enough, you know, the leader of the 2 killers goes to make a sandwich or whatever. And hears the gunshot and just goes about his business as normal, comes back into the room, and lo and behold, the second killer has killed the little boy right in front of the parents. Just because, and it wasn't even the dude that he tried to kill, it was the partner, you know. And when that happened, it was devastating. And you just know, because they killed the kid and because of the comment the bet that they made earlier, oh, you'll be dead within 12 hours, you know that the parents are going to die there in just a couple of seconds, you know, or moments or whatever it is, because the killers end up leaving after they killed the son. But you know they're coming back, especially because there's like 20 or 30 minutes left in the film.
Right.
But aside from that, without looking at the timeline, you just know, based off their like weird conversation after killing the boy, that they're going to be back for the rest of them, you know? And it's just suspenseful the whole time. And I just love that.
And those deaths that don't have meaning, they're just like out of nowhere. Like, I'm just going to kill you because, you know, to make a point. Like those senseless killings are harder, and I think there's something that when a suspenseful thriller does that, they do it, or psychological thriller, when they do that, they do it well.
It was very nonchalant, wasn't it? The way they were just went about their way. It was almost
the
like
whole thing.
They're just brushing their teeth. It was just like, okay, this is a Thursday. You know what I mean?
This is what we do.
We
just did it there. We just did it here. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Carrie, you go ahead.
Well, I was just curious. I want to know more about this story, because I feel like their victims' time frame was always 12 hours. So their neighbor, they were with them from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And then, you know, when they went to Naomi Watts and Homeboy, they were with them. No, actually, it was, I guess, whatever the time was before Naomi, because they were like, okay, it's 8 o'clock now, and you have maybe until 8, or I guess it was 9 to 9. And then after they killed Naomi Watts and the family before them, they went to the next family. So I'm just like, yo, are they doing this just full time, 24/7? This is just their life that they do.
What they do,
you know. And that
resume then,
yeah,
like is their resume full of like, well, let's see, we killed, you know, I went 48 straight hours of killing people, and then I went and got a sandwich, and then, you know, I applied for this job, so you know that I can kill, you know, on demand as needed.
Yeah. Are they doing this for 4 days straight and they take a day off? 4 days straight.
Yeah, exactly.
A day off.
Are they part of the union?
4 days off.
Do they get insurance? Is there dental?
Something.
They
No,
look
I think
dapper enough that it seems like they have money. Like they clearly are
Yeah.
invested in that, like, because it's like a little, like a timeshare essentially, right?
Because
Because
they have
they're
that mentality too. They're white men. They're clearly wealthy. They know golf. If you know golf, you've got money. And so there's just this sense of entitlement with them, just like Homeboy from American Psycho. You know, they just know they're going to get off. But then again, you do say that they're kids and they are young. So there is that bit of naivete where it's like maybe they just haven't gotten caught yet and it's going to happen. And so that's why I would love to know more about them.
it
as
reminded me quite a lot
people
bit
or
of
something.
the film like with Rope. There was a lot of similar messaging between the two films, like
Oh,
that
very much.
Sure.
about murdering people that they saw lesser than them
Sure.
in Rope, and then the people in this film they just saw as, even though they're on the same land, they look down at them as almost like going to safari, and that
Oh, yeah.
whole like lake or river, wherever it is almost like a reserve for them to go hunting on, maybe once a
Yeah.
year when people come in. Or they pick different places in America to go to. That's what I interpret it, because this film is so underrated. Like, it's unbelievable. It's one of my favorites, like for sure. Like, and what freaked me out the most was because it brings you into the whole like uninvited vibe. You know what I mean? People breaking into your home, they got the family, and it makes you think, oh, this is one of those. And then it's only when he goes, so what do you guys think? Are you on their side, or they're going to get out of it? And you're like, what are you talking to me for? I'm not watching this film. Now I feel dirty. You know what I mean?
There's a few weird moments like that in the film, like when one of the killers gets shot. Like time reverses and they're able to like undo that, as if like they just have such full control of the situation.
It's
And
funny
I
because
think
go ahead. With
Oh,
that, just with that though, with the remote control though, I just want to touch on that before you go farther, I guess. But that was 2007, and then the first film was 1997, which I still haven't seen. But like, even as I get more and more into technology and when I like copy and paste and delete, like in life, I just want to do that. You know, I just want to pick up a remote and be able to do that. And that film just captured that so perfectly, where it's just like, I wish. And there was no reason for that. And it's so out of place, but I'll still take it because I wanted to see that. But I also do like a terrible or like a sad ending too. So we got kind of the best of both worlds with it. It was awesome. Keep going.
I've heard people talk about how they hate that scene. I've heard people say things like, "Oh, it's a perfect film, except for that rewind thing."
I don't understand the film. That's why.
Exactly. I've always interpreted that scene as like they are so in control of the situation, like they own this family now. That even if the family is able to get a leg up and go in the right direction, they still have that like God control of what's happening here. So it's like, oh, that was cute. We're gonna get back on track now. But like,
exactly,
like,
that was cute.
I love that. I love that playing with us, and it's very subtle. And I guess if you don't think about it, it can come off like very out of place. But I think it's par for the course.
Yeah, and it goes
right there.
It goes well with the ending too, as far as that like control, because at the end he just throws her over the boat.
I love that scene.
We don't even see her like
not
go
even
into
looking at her, just out of here.
Like he's throwing trash in the bin, like one shot.
That's it. We just leave her. We don't see anything after that except for them moving along like as if nothing happened, you know. And that was just perfect. I thought it was so good.
I think the whole film was just about control, isn't it? Like he's there.
Yeah,
it's like
100%.
It's like you wanted control of the story, and the movie just saying no, that you have no control. Like these characters are the embodiment of this movie, and they're gonna make it their own.
Yes,
it's like that subversion thing I was talking about before. Like it's even from the opening shot of this movie, where you see like a happy family in a car, and they're like laughing and they're stoked and they're about to do something happy. And then all of a sudden you hear like this loud, like I can't.
That was so jarring.
It's so jarring, but that's what it should be, right? Like if you're here, we're gonna take you way over here, and like now look at you. How do you feel now? It's a great intro.
Yeah.
So good.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'll talk about my first movie then, which is 2006's Bug.
Oh my.
which was
Ooh.
directed by William Friedkin, who also directed The Exorcist. And this movie was actually a play that was adapted into a film, and by Tracy Letts. The play is by Tracy Letts, written by Tracy, and it is just so good. So in the film, we have Ashley Judd and Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon is just an absolute treasure that is completely underappreciated, but I don't think he cares. He just loves his art. But anyway, in this film, we have, you know, Michael Shannon and Ashley Judd, so we have Ashley Judd, who's living in a hotel, and she works at a gay bar, and she's just kind of down and out with stuff. She's got some things in her past that are making her, depressed and not able to move forward and live in the present necessarily. And she has a best friend who brings over a man to, just party with. And this man ends up taking an interest in Ashley Judd's character, and they just hang out a whole bunch. But he's kind of weird. And after some time, he starts talking about these conspiracies with the government and how they're after him and how he's got bugs living under his skin and stuff. And she's like, yo, I don't see any bugs, but it's not that I don't believe you, but I just don't see them. And all the while, she's having her own issues with her ex-husband, who's kind of been calling her just, as he got released from prison. And the two of them actually lost a son because she was out grocery shopping one day and somebody basically snatched her son. And so she's got all this trauma from that. And then he went to prison for whatever he went to prison for. And he's also very physically abusive and mentally abusive and emotionally abusive. And so at the start of the film, you get these calls that he calls her a bunch of times and he's not saying anything on the other line, but she knows that it's him. And so we've got that going on in the background. And so when she meets Michael Shannon's character, she's standoffish at first, but eventually gives in to this relationship. And so once she's fallen in love with him, she's kind of along for the ride with his whole bugs under my skin thing. And while she is kind of susceptible to being persuaded to do this or that, she's quote unquote a normal person who's kind of teetering between not a psychotic break, but she's very fragile is what she is. She's emotionally fragile, and she's finding comfort in the one person who she's loved probably since her husband. She probably never even loved her husband in the first place, but we've got all kinds of events going down where the government is there at the hotel looking for homeboy because he used to work for the government, and he is losing his mind. He is imagining these bugs under his skin, obviously, because even the audience doesn't see these bugs, but she's fully bought into it finally after so much time. And he's also sold to her by the end of the film that she is the queen mother bug. It's just so perfect, the ending. And I'm sorry if you haven't seen it yet, but that's, I guess, the nature of live streams talking about movies. But it's still a beautiful watch, even if you know what happens. But maybe I'll say the last 5 minutes, unless somebody in the chat or one of y'all really wants to know. But it's just obvious that she will eventually start to believe his delusions, and the ending is just a freaking masterpiece. And I just love this movie because it's just a perfect example of how a weak person or a weak-minded person or a person who's very fragile in the moment emotionally can just be manipulated and just do a complete 180. From I can't see any bugs on your skin to I see these bugs and I'm going to help you carve them out of your freaking skin type of deal, And it's just so good. Have any of y'all seen it before? Anybody? Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
This is the first time for me. This sounds incredible. You had me gripped. I'm like, and then what? And then what?
It's a massive mind F. Let's just say that. It's a film that starts off relatively like a Coyote Ugly almost in a way. It starts off fairly normal,
100.
You think, oh, okay, this is a following this person, and like you said, you meet one fragile person, meets another fragile person, and I think the ending, I don't want to spoil it because you haven't seen it, but the ending is perfect because it they feed into each other, and when you use metaphors and as to what when you feed something into something else, something will happen. And even it makes you start when they start, they're so believable in what they're saying. you sort of like you feel like they're in your head, and you're like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm starting to, and then you start like even at one point, I was like such a
Exactly. I'm like, are we just not seeing the bugs and the director is trying to fool us too? Like, is this dude really infested? Honestly, like, are we wrong? So exactly,
All I'm
exactly.
gonna say though is that if anyone's not seen it, bro, we're in it. But all I'm gonna say is the teeth scene. I was just like,
Oh,
ah.
every time I cringe, but it's so good. I'm like always like, oh,
I,
every time.
I watched this after our live stream because you mentioned it. You mentioned this film
Okay.
when you done it with us, and I was like, I had it on my little watch list. So I
Yeah.
watched it, and then when it was brought up as like now, I was like, oh
The
great,
email,
cool,
yeah.
very very handy. But it's really you know what I find funny though, like with every film that's on this list, the ones we've spoken about, is they're all different time frames. Like you got Rope, which is 1 hour 90, and Bugs about what 1 hour 50, but they all are let me that perfectly packaged. And they're neither too long or too short. They're just right because
Yeah.
for what they
Mhm.
are, which I find very interesting. Like some films, like you never want too much of a psychological thriller. Like you can never walk out saying I want more.
Yeah.
You just want to watch it again and sort of
Yeah.
unravel it. But yeah, it's a great film, Bug.
Oh my God. Go ahead.
I haven't seen it myself, but just the way you describe it, it makes me, it kind of takes it back to one of those great things about psychological thrillers where it makes you question, is he actually like like crazy and seeing, seeing bugs that aren't there? Or is it us that has the inability to see what he's dealing with?
No, that's exactly right throughout the film because you're like, when you first meet him, you're like, oh, he's just freaking crazy. But then he'll say something and you're like, well, he has a point. But then you go back and you're like, but I don't see it now because now I'm on Ashley's and I've got Ashley's goggles on, Ashley Judd, and now I'm
That's
seeing it
it.
in like a
Mhm.
normal way. But then he'll say one other thing and you're like, dang, that could be true too. So you just kind of go back and forth with it.
It's
And
almost like
it's
a
just
reverse trope because normally when you watch a horror film, it's always like that the woman and she's like, I've seen a
mhm.
ghost, and the husband's always the dumb one, and he's always
Yes.
dismissed, like Orphan. Orphan, the husband's so stupid in that
Oh
film, and the
God.
mom's just like, this is going on,
That's
but
exactly right.
it's the reverse. But normally, it's like this, but it's where she could disprove what like if he is or isn't. But
Mhm.
they like I said, they sort of feed into it. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
they
So
feed into that's it right there. They feed into each other, which makes it that much more explosive because yeah, just in love in general, when you've got two people who are brokenhearted and they've been through crap relationships or whatever, and then they kind of build each other up. This is the same thing, but like in the negative form,
Mm,
you know. Yes, that's exactly right. They just feed into each other and it's like it's almost beautiful in a way. Like the ending is the ending and it could be considered sad in a way, but it was also to me just a beautiful way to do it. And it was I'm trying to not say words that are going to give it away too much because it is super underrated even though it's over 20 years old. um we can spoil all the other films, but this one, it is just an awesome love story. I've realized recently that I just really like horror films, psychological thrillers that have also like a cool little love story in there too. I'm not usually a romance person. I do watch rom-coms and I enjoy them, but I don't look for or seek out, romance or love stories, but I've found that, like The Fly or Candyman,
Mhm.
they've just
mm.
been super impactful because you feel that love. And I just love love. I watch all the love shows. Like I watch Married at First Sight, Love After Lockup, just love connection shows. And so I love love. And so I've realized, okay, when it's got some horror and psychological thriller elements in there, I think I like it that much more. So
Mm.
yeah.
Well, and
Sorry,
having
can we
someone
just
to
did you
fight. Oh, good.
no, no, go for it, go for it. I
I
was
was just
gonna
gonna
go
say.
somewhere else.
Oh, when you can find like the way you describe Bug, you've got two people that not that they have the same thing, but they have similar things, and having that person to stand against the world with,
Yes.
in that respect.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
Right. Because you could have your best friend. We all have like our one or two best friends. They're going to always be our best friend. But when you have your best friend who's also your lover, it's just a different thing, you know? And it's that whole, us against the world, not in a negative way, but it's just taking on the world because the world's full of good and bad. And you just have to take the impact, and it's just awesome to be able to take it with that other person. So
You're seeing the world through each other's eyes, aren't you?
yes, yes,
So that's kind of like with bugs. You're seeing the world through what they can see, even if you can't or can. You're in
yeah.
it together, so you, yeah.
Wait, are
Love
there
is a
shots in
beautiful
Bug
thing.
where it goes from his perspective and it's like a bug?
No, but we were saying when you took off that, like, basically, it's like as the audience, you're seeing him, you're seeing him speak, and you're like, oh, this guy's full of crap. Like, she needs to be saved from him. But then he'll say something, and then you're like, oh, but wait, he's got a point there, and maybe she just needs to come over to this side. And then something else will go down, and then you're like, no, 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 no. Back to my original thought. And so it just plays with your mind and your
We're
heart
going
that
back and
way.
forth. Well, that's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
That's
yes.
fun.
Yeah, so good. What's up, Danny? Boy, I wanted to say hello. I threw your comment up there a second ago, but wanted to say what's up to you. He's been a long time viewer. He's been a viewer on my channel since the beginning, so I appreciate you being here. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. And then
Oh my.
I will be popping off here just for a second after we get this started. So, Triv, what's your next movie?
My next movie is a sequel to a classic that also had like kind of a non-starter sequel in the middle, and that's Exorcist 3. Which just before I get into it, I did actually enjoy Exorcist 2, but from a good bad movie perspective, because
Same.
oh my god.
I mean, I enjoyed it because I liked the African lore. I think that's probably what my appeal was. I was like, I'll take it. I was like, I don't know if this is exploitive or what, but I feel like they're being respectful with it, and I think that was, I guess, my appeal to it.
It's certainly its own beast. It's a locust of a different color. Slightly
Yes.
less gray than everybody else. Anyway, so yeah, Exorcist 3. Storyline of it is basically we get the police guy from the original. All of a sudden there are all these just atrocious killings. Like there's bad killings, and then there's like these killings, and it is just over the top, and they're trying to figure out who it is. Every time they find something out, it opens up this whole new level of weird stuff, and it goes on, and you find out quite a revelation at the end. I don't know if we want to go into spoilers on it or not, but
Oh,
the revelation,
Please do.
the person that ends up doing all this stuff is Father Karras's body. So he was the priest that got tossed out of the exorcism in the original, falls down the stairs. His body got taken over by, I guess, Pazuzu or whatever the demon is, in addition to like this serial killer that's called the Gemini Killer, and there's all this other stuff, and it's just like this guy is basically a motel for all kinds of trapped souls. And my god, the killings, just the way that they go into the detail of all these killings. He was out to make people suffer hardcore. And it's a fascinating movie.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love, specifically with Exorcist 3, I love the fact that you don't see the killings that's happening. Like,
yes.
You don't need it. You don't need it. Like it still is gripping in every way. Just, I think a lot of that comes from Brad Dourif's performance in Exorcist 3 well. Like his range in that movie. And like, like DeRay said, like I'm a gigantic Chucky fan. I am no stranger to Brad Dourif. But like, holy man, like his range in that film specifically, it's shocking. I would say he's arguably scarier in that than he's ever been in.
Oh, absolutely. Did you see there's a trivia piece about how at one point George C. Scott, well, I guess Kinderman is questioning him, and he said it was child's play, and then they cut to a shot of a redheaded kid.
Whoa.
That was
No.
wicked.
Oh, great.
And with this one too, kind of like how Rope has, and I guess I go for movies that have like that suspense, that horror, but my favorite ones are also ones that have like some snappy humor. It's not just all dark. And I guess
Yeah.
it's probably a lot of people, but I love the snappy dialogue that happens between Kinderman and Father Dyer. I just love what they do and just the weird back and forth. Like when he's in the hospital room and they're talking about like this women's magazine that he can't,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
nothing else there. And they're going back and forth about fashion. And it is genuinely just a fun conversation that I think that people would have.
Now, I was saying before the stream started, I haven't watched all of it, but I started watching it before the stream because I thought, God, let me just try and watch it before. I got about almost three quarters of the way through, and I was loving it. Really, really engrossing stuff, and the way they describe the deaths is like imagination. Sometimes is better than, and again, that goes back to like funny games or funny games. It's like you don't see anything, but just picturing it is a lot worse.
Mhm.
And yeah, I was watching it, but it's good to see a film where, like, for such a long time, where you're following an older antagonist. You know what I mean? Like, you never really see it, do you? Like in films where you're following someone who's in their 70s. You know what I mean? Like as a older detective character, and the acting is really, really great. I was loving the mystery. Haven't finished it. I was thinking like stream or finish the film, but there was.
I'm gonna be 30 minutes late. My bad.
I know how to be like, hey, guys, I have a reason. But what you're saying about the humor is true. Like there was a joke early on that cracked me up. He was like, I think the main character, forget his name because I just watched it. And he was like, you guys, you're a bunch of racists. I asked what you would to do about rabies, and you said I love the Jewish community.
And George C. Scott is just so good. Like he's been in a lot of horror. He tends to chew the scenery pretty hardcore, but he is such a good actor in horror movies. I find
he does chew the scene. He's like, they're in the files. They're not in the files. I'm like, oh, calm down, mate.
The whole thing with the carp, I love.
Yeah. I gotta
there's
kill it. The gills.
I have to wait to pee until after it goes to bed because I don't want it staring at me. Oh man! But I guess from a psychological perspective, you don't know what's causing it, and every single piece of information you have is either from an unreliable narrator or it's something you think as a cop. Like, logic is your friend. If you can outthink the person that's doing the killing, you're going to be better off. But every single time it's like, oh, well, it turns out that a demon with like a hotels where the people inside of them is doing all this stuff. I mean, how do you as a rational, I guess, I don't know if you would consider him an atheist. He's at least agnostic, but how do you reconcile that? Like that combination of logic versus like supernatural stuff.
Yeah. Where do you fall on the supernatural thing, Triv? Like, are you on the line? Are you one way or the other?
I take it case by case, I guess. When I always try to keep an open mind of, this is what I see.
Yeah.
But there are people, it's not just all, that guy in the backwoods that, drinks 10 gallons of beer a day that sees things.
Yeah.
And there's
you found my dad. Where is he?
Well, I bought him a shot at the bar, and then we went out back and drank 10 gallons of.
Oh God, he wasn't talking about bugs, was he?
No,
wait for him.
He was talking about hops.
Okay, fine.
I like how they say, you need to either be talking to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a priest. It's like one of those two, and it's just weird. It's like, okay, these are my issues, and talking about those things, those are my options, and it's just interesting because it's like, yeah, you could go one way or the other and sort of be right,
Absolutely. And I noticed TYTD in the chat was asking the Legion cut or the theatrical. And I've not seen the Legion, so I can't speak to it. But
it was the director's cut, and he only directed The Exorcist and The Exorcist Legion, and then the film before The Exorcist or right after it, which is interesting because he wrote the book The Exorcist, which the film was adapted from. And so yeah, it was just interesting. Like this was his baby, and it was the only thing he really cared about, and he didn't even want to call it Exorcist 3 because he wanted to distance himself so much from 2. So I thought that was really interesting when I saw that. Let me
That
find
is
one.
wonderful. That is wonderful. Number one, I didn't know that TYTD is here. I haven't seen or spoken to that guy in forever. I love that dude. Wow. At least like a year and a half. Like since
What's
wow.
up?
So what's up to TYTD? Wow. And then the other thing was that it's so interesting that you said that about wanting to distance yourself from
2.
the Exorcist thing.
Yeah.
Because I really don't feel like Exorcist 3 had to be an Exorcist film.
No.
Like I thought like that third act was really unnecessary.
He wanted to call it something else completely. He didn't even want to call it Exorcist 3.
And it
didn't he just want to call it Legion? I thought that was what he actually like after the book.
And they didn't accept Legion, so he was like, "Well, how about Exorcist 1990?" They're like, "No, we still just want it to be Exorcist 3." They're like, "Okay, I guess you don't want any of my ideas, even though it's my freaking story, but whatever."
Studios doing what studios do best.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Hellraiser franchise. All of those, majority of those weren't actual Hellraiser films. They were scripts, and they were like, we could fit Pinhead in there and stuff. But like, but to hear that makes so much sense for the film, because that's the one jarring thing about that movie for me, is that like I just don't understand the exorcism in it at the end of it. It feels very shoehorned for me. I liked what they were already doing in part 3. Like I feel like if they had just kept on doing what they were already doing throughout that film, I think the ending would have been rad. I haven't seen the Legion cut either to know if maybe that's not a part of it or what happens or what the difference is. But I have a strong stance against the ending of
It's like calling a film like A Nightmare on Elm Street, the court case, and the whole film is just a court case, no Freddy. In the last 2 minutes, she's like, "Hey," and then it disappears.
Right.
We have justified our reason for calling it a nightmare in the courthouse. You know what I mean?
And everyone in court falls asleep. What? We have a movie, guys.
I know, but this is probably better than anything they're going to make, to be honest, isn't it, really?
They were even talking how that whole exorcism scene cost like $4 million to put together.
What?
I don't know like what all went into it, if it was like salaries or if it was like effects or what all went into it. But yeah, it was
the demon salary.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, demons don't come cheap. You know, if you want good, decent demons.
Lord.
Demon rates.
That'll always blow my mind in film, how like they could just spend millions on something and then either use it or not use it. Like the original ending to like Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, absolutely. I just thinking about that.
Yeah, it's like a $5 million ending that they were just like, nah, we'll cut it. Like why? That was a lot of money, man.
Depressing, but a lot of money.
Yes.
So with the Halloween franchise just, being wrapped up, Triv, are you excited for David Gordon Green to, do Exorcist 1, 2, and 3 here in the next few years?
I have a love-hate.
My first question was, sorry, did you enjoy Exorcist 1, the first one? Did you really like that one? Are you a big fan of Exorcist?
Oh, I enjoyed it very much. Like I went to college. Well, weirdly, I went to college with a bunch of priests, and they kind of pulled me into a lot of really interesting movies. I know, or it's one of those weird. That
was a sentence.
I know. I was waiting for the punchline.
What? They were pre-sem guys, so the college I went to had a seminary as part of it. So that's I got to be friends with a lot of them because we had a lot of similar movie tastes. Like Life of Brian was one of their favorites across the board among the 4 or 5 of them, and it's like, wow, that's really interesting. But they got me into understanding the ins and outs of Exorcist, kind of like the stuff behind the scenes and kind of what was real and what wasn't. So I have a deep respect for Exorcist. It's not one I'm going to go back and watch like 5 times a week. I would probably, grand scheme, and this is going to probably come off as stupid, but I actually really like this one more than the original, just because it feels like it's got a little bit more. I like the humor that it brings. It's a little bit less. I don't know. That's probably what is it? Yes, it's probably. But
no, I will die on that hill with you, man. Like I'm not a big Exorcist 1 guy. I certainly don't love 2. Majority of them I really don't like. Like I'm just not into those films like that. Though that one that's about to come out with the woman who wants to become an exorcist, that actually looks pretty good. Like that trailer that's out right now. I like that.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about. I prefer The Omen, Exorcist. If I'm honest, yeah.
Nice.
Omen's more my jam. I like The Exorcist, but it's a weird one because when you're like, I think I was like 11 or 12 when I watched these films. Bad time, good times for me. But yeah, like I watched all the films that you hear about. So like The Exorcist, I think was just too hyped up because you heard like it was banned for 20 years in the UK, and it's just nuts. So I was like, oh, I feel something I was hyped it too much in my head at that age. I haven't watched it since, so I'll probably watch it. I need to watch it again. It's like a film you can't watch every year because it hasn't got that repeat factor like maybe a Halloween film does on Halloween. But you maybe watch it with someone who's never watched it before, and then maybe not watch it for another 10 years. That kind of thing.
I will say the behind the scenes, how they did the effects, all that stuff is more interesting to me than the movie itself. But I'm an effects person. I love all that kind of stuff. But your question about the new Exorcist trilogy. I have a love-hate relationship with Halloween Ends. I like the fact that it was different. There were parts of it that I, without going too deep into it, since we're not talking about that one specifically, there were parts of it I liked. I liked the fact it was outside the box. It kind of felt, someone compared it to the Rian Johnson cut of the Last Jedi, and I think that is quite accurate compared to everything else with what it did. But I think it's going to be something where people either love or hate it, but there's so much built up behind The Exorcist itself. It's going to be a very derisive thing regardless. So I'm excited. I as long as they do it right, because remakes and rebrandings and all that stuff can go south quick if you're not careful.
Sure.
If you don't show respect to what's there and take it in a direction that's both, that has has the good stuff that people love about the original, but still take it in a different direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Invasion of the Body Snatchers from the 50s one, or The Thing from the original to the 1970s, 1980s ones. The thing that made them good was they took what was in the original and good, and then they made it its own thing.
Right. Yeah, I guess I don't have too many examples off the top of my head where they've done a full trilogy or franchise over again. Remakes are something good. Before, I didn't even care about remakes or sequels. They just weren't my thing at all. But then I, in my mid-20s started to come around to that idea. But I can't really think of any actual franchises, whole 3 or more movies that are just redone. So it's interesting. Well, I guess that's Halloween, which basically what David Gordon Green just did. But that's what Halloween has been doing this whole time. Essentially, they've just been restarting the whole thing over again and making it new people all the time. So yeah, I'm personally, I liked the first 2 films more than I liked the third film, but I didn't dislike Halloween Kills. And I'm also not a huge diehard Exorcist fan either, but I do enjoy the first film. I remember being 14 watching Exorcist and being alone in the dark in my living room like nothing, because I had been watching horror films since I was super little. And I remember specifically my mom coming into the living room and being like, "Are you watching Exorcist?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "In the dark?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "By yourself?" I was like, "What do you mean? What is this
right. Where are you leading me to? Just say it. Right. Why are we playing this game?
This is what it is. You know me. Or at least I've been doing this. Where have you been? So that's my big, huge memory with The Exorcist. So, David Gordon Green did what he did with Halloween and Halloween Kills. And, I had a good time with Ends. Again, I'm not against it like a lot of these folks are. Slasher Pepper, who is going to be in my compilation video that comes out on Halloween, he kind of mentioned something that resonated with me, where Halloween Ends was kind of like an epilogue to the whole saga. What's up, Joe? And Halloween Kills was kind of like the end. That was the big bombastic ending that we all wanted. And then because Ends is kind of more subdued, it's not necessarily the end or the finale. It's just like, okay, and then that's what happened. It's just the epilogue. It's just, kind of the after story that you crave when a film or movie or when a film or book ends. Like you want that little extra, and Halloween Ends was that little extra that they gave to us. But again, I'm not a huge like Halloween head or anything like that, but that made sense to me.
They all had their own
I
merits.
loved Halloween. I
Sorry.
loved Halloween. No, I loved Halloween. I loved this this Gordon like trilogy. I thought it was all great. And then I went to the movies to go see Halloween Ends, and I was very disappointed, like very heartbroken. I haven't dropped my review about it yet because I've committed to rewatching it on Peacock. So
that's a good idea.
because like the way that I went into it was very like, oh, I'm stoked, and I didn't watch a single trailer. I didn't watch anything.
Same here.
And then when I went to see it, it was kind of like that wasn't at all what I was expecting. And then like hearing kind of the backlash from everyone, it was like they did something that I'm not seeing. So now I've been rewatching it. I'm about halfway through the film on my second watching, and I definitely have a different view of it. So it's funny to hear Slasher Pepper's take about it.
Yeah.
That is a great way to look at it. In fact, I like almost wish I didn't hear you say that, so that way I could like be like, I thought of that.
Exactly, right? You said that, I was like, dang, I wish I would have put that in my short or something, because I haven't made this short, but I was just like mulling it over, and I'm like, man, that's such a good idea, because that's so true. Yes. That's funny. All right, so let me go back up here to so I think we gave him the answer though. Oh, Danny boy. It was kind of like it's like at this, it's okay, goes like that, and then video creeps figuring it out still. It's fine. All right. So,
that video will come. I'm like taking my time.
I will leave it at this. Like one of the people that I hang with described it this way, and I think it fits at least from my perspective on it. He said it's a really good horror movie. It's not necessarily a great Halloween movie. And that's kind of where I fell with it. Like, it didn't quite have that.
It didn't happen on Halloween, now that I think about it.
It did. Well, part of it did.
Okay, part of it did.
Yeah. Oh, it was like the October 30th and 31st or something like that.
Anyway. It wasn't, it doesn't, costumes don't stick out on my mind. In the other films, you can immediately think of people in costume.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, I'm not really like thinking of any parts in particular. But I've only watched it once, so whatever. But yeah. You're welcome, Danny. Thank you for dropping in. I appreciate you. I guess it makes sense that it would be on Halloween. It's a silly question to ask, but it just...
It's on Easter.
It's just...
it would be a great twist.
No, when I watched it, I also was like, is this on Halloween even? Like, what?
Right, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, trying to go back in my brain, but I can't remember a costume. I'm trying to think of a costume, and I can't think of a person's costume.
I think it was like one... It was just people walking across the street for like 2 seconds, and it's like it's Halloween.
Yeah,
right.
who was dressed up as somebody? Michael Myers.
Corey was dressed up as Michael Myers. Yeah, that was
maybe they were doing like a play on like adult Halloween, because like we always see like the trick or treating and the kids and stuff like that, but in this one it was very like we're at a bar, we're dancing, which is what Halloween is like now. And my like current life.
I guess that was a dumb question too, also because there were just so many pumpkins in Laurie's home, which had me thinking too, like she's had all these bad experiences on Halloween. Why does she still love Halloween? Why are there still jack-o'-lanterns littered throughout her house? Like I remember having that thought, like, why? Like I get loving Halloween. Like if my whole family got slaughtered on Halloween, I might still celebrate Halloween. But I don't know if I would still have pumpkins necessarily, where like the pumpkins were always a big thing. And each time I came across Michael Myers, it's just weird. Just weird.
I think Laurie is such a character, and like in her strength and stuff. I think she wouldn't allow Michael Myers to take something like
Sure, you could say that. And that's how I felt about her in H2O and Beyond. That's my feelings towards her. But I don't know. In Kills, she was just so wrecked a little bit. And like this time too, like she's just always been wrecked from her experiences. And while I want to feel her as that badass chick, I just feel like she would just make her world. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going too far into that,
Well,
but
the way
yeah,
I look at it, right? You got like, so Halloween 1 is like Terminator, and Sarah O'Connor, she's an innocent lady, she's thrown into this world, crazy things happen, and in the second one, she's battle hardened. Sarah
sure,
O'Connor, because she
sure,
knows how to deal with this crap. And same with Laurie in the second one kill. She's like, this guy, or in the Halloween 2018, which is the sequel. She's like,
yeah.
I'm ready for this guy. And then imagine in the third Terminator, so Sarah Connor's like, hey everyone, I made robot cookies. It's like,
I'm allergic to nuts.
exactly. Like, do you know what happened to your whole life? Like your friends got killed, shot to pieces, and same with Laurie. She's like, after kills, and this one ends, she's like, I baked a cherry pie, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's like, there's a picture of a daughter on the wall. My daughter died, but that wasn't there, I guess. Anyway, time to move on with my life. Who wants to cut a pumpkin with me? It's like, what's wrong with you, crazy lady?
I do have to ask why, and I guess I've been trying to like catch up on all these slashers that I haven't seen. Why does every single house have a knife that's like 2 feet long and sharp as can be? Like,
Hey,
how
man.
often do you use that?
Yeah.
You don't eat takeout. You got to make all your own food and do all
Right,
your own
right.
special things, man. You know, you got to have 10 different kinds of knives plus. So
It's
all
not garden. It's the killing garden gnomes. It's just the
Oh yeah,
the right length.
I thought I was the only one that had to do that.
No,
I've just been
it's-
using a steak knife.
that was a mistake.
Yeah, I see what you're cut above.
Ah!
You're so sharp.
Triv got it going every time.
That was a rare joke you just said.
You butchered all of us with your good jokes.
Well done.
All right, let's go back to psychological thriller.
No, what are we talking about again?
Halloween end stream? Are you talking about that?
Exactly. Change the name.
All right, Joe, give us your second, not your second favorite, but like one of your second of one of your favorite psychological thrillers.
I've come equipped with my cup of tea again.
Yeah.
From being from the UK, after an hour of not drinking tea, you wither away.
I was wondering. I'm glad that you brought that up because I was like, he's fake. Where's the tea?
I know. I went before the stream. It's
Oh,
like
thank you.
lifeblood. I was like withering away. I look like Voldemort and Philosopher's Stone. You know what I mean? I was like got to appear on the back of someone's head in a minute just to like.
Oh,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I don't know how to operate without the stereotypes.
But when I was
So,
making
this
the
is
tea,
great.
no, it's good. Like, literally, this is not a stereotype. When everyone says British people like tea, we smell of it. You know what I mean? Like, when you come into
Hey, I love it the way it smells, so I'm down. Be around me all the time.
when you fly into the country, they just give you like a cup and a tea bag and a digestive biscuit. You know,
Beautiful.
there you go. Find your way. Enjoy our country. By the way,
I'll never forget when I was over there. There was this advertisement that had a whole bunch of tea bags hanging out on a line as if they were being reused.
They probably were, right?
Yeah.
We do love that tea. We do love that
I
tea.
believe I've seen that. I believe I've seen that on like extreme cheapskates. Like they do that. Like they'll like reuse their tea.
That's sacrilege. You take that back, young man. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. Oh yeah, so I was talking about nothing. I went off tangent talking about tea. But so my second film is Silence of the Lambs. Could be quite an obvious pick, but I just love psychological thrillers with rich dialogue. Like for me, like Silence of the Lambs, before I go into it, I explain the story if no one's seen it, if no one has. What's
Yeah.
wrong with people? But it's about a FBI trainee called, oh my god, something Starling. Clarice Starling, almost got her name. And she's been picked to profile. Oh my god, the bug's got her.
I'll be right back. I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
No one's offering you eggs. Stay away.
Don't eat any fava beans with a nice Chianti.
Keep your phone away from the sink. Whatever you do.
Do not put lotion in the basket.
Oh dear, if no one's seen Silence of the Lambs, they probably think we're just nuts. You know what I mean? Just talking about what are you talking about? But am I waiting for it to come back? Or am I going to carry on? I don't.
No, I think you just carry on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, no worries. So so essentially, she's a trainee FBI agent, and she's been picked to profile a person called Hannibal Lecter, who's a very profound, I suppose, is incarcerated in this mental institution, if you call it that, and he's both a cannibal but a genius at the same time, and they want to use her to use him to profile a serial killer that's on the loose in I forget the name of the area. Is it Pennsylvania? Oh, it doesn't matter. But
I think so. Yeah, it's East Coast.
yes, I have no idea. It could be North Coast if that's a thing. And she's trying to use him to catch this guy called Buffalo Bill, who's going around kidnapping women and doing things to them. I don't want to ruin it, but essentially he's doing things to their skin, hence why he needs lotion in the basket, as we mentioned earlier. And but while this is all going on, it's very intricate because you got this to and fro between Starling, who's played by Jodie Foster, and Hannibal Lecter, who's played by Anthony Hopkins, and their dialogue back and forth is fascinating throughout the film. And yeah, it's a classic. It's an absolute classic. It's a film I watch once a year. Hannibal Lecter is probably one of my favorite characters in anything. I love him as Mad Mikkelsen in the TV show Hannibal. It's one of probably my favorite TV show of all time. But the film is just great because of the dialogue, and it's a film where I literally feel like I'm not watching; I'm in the film. Like I've got a chair. Like so when she's talking to him while he's in the cell, I feel like I'm in the chair next to her, just profiling him. Like the whole film, I'm trying to work at Hannibal Lecter and everything. Is a great film. One of my favorites, which like once a year at least.
Definitely a good one. Yeah, go ahead.
The conversations between the two of them, and like just learning more about Jodie Foster's character, about Clarice, like through him. What a game! What a wonderful, wonderful game throughout that entire film, and you just get more and more invested. Like, I think that was an awesome pick.
Yep.
And
it's semi-predictable, but I love him.
Oh, that's right.
But it's I think it should be spoken about.
Absolutely. And it almost seems like and not that the Buffalo Bill case is secondary, but it almost seems like their conversations are kind of the main focus, and Buffalo Bill is kind of a side plot. And I think that happens at least with Hannibal as well. When I watched it, like you have this other stuff going on, but like the conversations between Clarice and Lecter are kind of forefront.
I don't even think it was meant to be that way when the film was made. I just think the performance was so strong. I think they thought, oh, wait till everyone gets to see Buffalo Bill and what he does and what he can do. Right. He's gonna shock. But when they went back, I think Anthony Hopkins, he literally just stole everything. Like I don't think you meant to have done that, but just like with Heath Ledger's Joker, he just overshadowed the entire film.
Absolutely.
It's a huge like. I'm sorry.
No. Please go ahead.
I was gonna say like it's a huge testament to Anthony's like performance. If like you can have a character like Buffalo Bill who's just out of his mind, and like you see him doing these things, and he's got the girl in the hole, and he's wearing the outfit, but you're far more invested in like what's going on in like a cell with like just this straight dialogue back and forth. Like what an amazing.
Yep.
Absolutely. When the shot comes around the corner and you see Hannibal Lecter for the first time, that's just there's just that magnetism that Anthony Hopkins has that just draws you into it right then and there.
He actually improvised that, believe it or not. He's meant to be sitting down in the chair, and so when people came around the camera, it freaked them out because because when they rehearsed, he's been sitting down. So when they've actually come around the corner to film it, he was literally just standing. Because he was trying to give the impression that he wasn't like, oh, someone's here. He wanted to be like standing up, waiting, like cordial, like, oh, welcome to my home. You know what I mean? Like almost waiting, knowing they were going to turn up, even though he had no idea of knowing they would turn up. So he was just trying to show that how ahead of the game he was from without even saying. Like with the first second you see him, he's already told you he's 10 steps ahead of everyone because he knows they're coming to see him.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So many things about that film, but that's why I like the TV show Hannibal, because it builds on more in the lore and stuff. Like in the cell, for example, he doesn't see himself in the cell; he just sees himself in this beautiful room. So what we see as a prison for him is just like an art studio or our own little place kind of thing. But it's one of my favorite films of all time.
How many seasons of the series are there?
3.
Yeah.
3
did it mean to just be 3, or did they stop because
There was meant to be 6, but I think it was too ahead of its time. A TV show, way too ahead of its time. Like you watch it now, like I tell everyone watch it because it's the best TV show you'll watch. If you love psychological like thrillers or horrors, watch that TV show. It will show you the most shocking imagery you'll ever see in anything, even films. And the dialogue is just rich and the cinematography. Like watch the first episode, you'll be hooked.
Sure.
Hooked,
Okay.
hooked.
I'm down.
I so slept on the TV show, and I do feel bad
same.
about it because I know it got like canceled. Like I know it got canceled after a while. Like, but all I heard was good things. So to hear you even now still like going to bat for it, it's like you've built intrigue in me.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Definitely one of my I wouldn't say go-tos, but it was definitely one that I always enjoyed watching every time I watched it.
It's actually what's the word? A victim of its own success, because if you've never watched it, there's so many films that copied it. It's now become like a parody of itself.
That's what I was gonna say too. You know, it reminds me of a little bit of not necessarily Saw, but like a little bit of Saw, and just that like it's just making you look at yourself. And then even with the end of Exorcist 3, I kind of thought about Silence of the Lambs, even though it came after Exorcist 3. You kind of get those Silence of the Lambs vibes in Exorcist.
Oh, absolutely. Brad Dourif throughout that, he's got that, like it's a very, you know, oh well, at first we had a hard time breaking down Father Karras. But then after time, it was easy. You know, he had so many damaged brain. Oh, sorry.
So you had so many
damaged brain. To me there exactly. Sorry, I had an extra demon that I had to expel there. So
you squashed God and knowing by the looks of things. Get out of here.
Exactly. I mean, I could get stuck over here too.
Oh, that is so funny.
Over here. Hang on. I can't reach. Where is it? Okay, there we go.
We're watching the animated version.
I want to do one of these videos like every other month. I want to be in animation on my channel at least, you know, every so often. It's just cute. I love it. When I was the little person on your channel, or avatar, Bitmoji, whatever you want to call it, it was super cute and fun. I want to.
It was adorable.
But keep going. Your thought. Go ahead.
Oh, that's kind of all I had. Just it's sorry,
you're fine.
I got caught over here too much, and I think the thought went out of my brain accidentally. No, but
just fell out.
It did. It just went. It went out with the demon, I think.
I'll tell you one thing I didn't mention earlier. That the main character, the main evil kid in Funny Games. I would love to see him as the Joker or younger Joker.
Oh, Michael Pitt. My God.
I think he'd be amazing. Yeah. Like he just gave me Joker vibes because you were just so calm and collected, but calculated. You know what I mean? Like I was thinking I want to see him as the Joker.
You don't want to see Joaquin again?
No, I do. I want to see Jared, man. Can't get enough of that guy. He's like the best one of all time. I'm joking already. It's yeah. No, I'm looking forward to the Joaquin one because of obviously Lady Gaga and stuff. See what they do with that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Apparently Joker was supposed to just be a standalone film, but how can you end the film Joker that way? Like how can he's supposed, because it was just all his backstory. Why would you stop there? It's just weird that was their initial idea, but because everybody's freaking loving it, like myself, like yeah, of course do a part 2. Give me a freaking break. Why not?
I love the ending of that film. To that's life, but he's just sort of dancing down the hallway, and I felt so free. You know what I mean? Just I think just to be that free in your mind is just like exhilarating.
Yes, I've thought I was there a couple of times, but I don't think I was. It just looks so much better when he's there. You know? Yes. Love it. All right. Well, where are we at here? So we just spoke about Silence of the Lambs, and all right. So, Creep, give us what you got for your number 2.
It's me. So the second one that I chose was Eden Lake. I love that I'm getting that response. So many people haven't seen it or like given it the chance, but it's such a pressure cooker film. Like I
didn't see it before. I didn't give it a chance. I might have watched it, but I suppressed it because I was like, meh. I was like, whatever. But like, I watched it again, and I was like, oh, okay, because like I was already writing it off when I watched it, and then I was like, but wait, oh, I see it, I see it, I see it. So just keep going with what's going on in the film because it's a good one. It's good.
So again, a lot like Funny Games, like it starts off happy enough. It's a wonderful little couple, and they go off to like just spend a little time by the beach and like
Yeah.
do some kissing, do some hugging and touching, maybe just spend a couple days by the lake, and they start to their time gets interrupted by a neighboring group of children who
Children,
are
like that's
yeah
that's important.
yeah like kids just like
Important.
just in that age range where like like 14, 15, where you're starting to
Precocious.
kind of drink beer and smoke weed and like you're starting to
In
get
addition to
away
being
from the values of
incredibly
your friends.
unsupervised, you
That's
got
the
that.
limits.
That's normal, but then on top of that, you're unsupervised.
Exactly, it's when you really start to like hook into that time in your life where
Yeah.
bad decisions are coming in and like there's mom and dad, but they don't know they don't know who I really am. Like I'm this other person with my friends, and you're your worst version of yourself, and it's just a group of these kids in that same place, and all this little couple is trying to do is have a wonderful time by the lake, and they are playing their music, they're getting rowdy, they're being rude. It's everything that you don't want to run into with a kid, because you can't fight a kid, you
Yeah.
can't just like mess a kid up when you see them, even though you want to sometimes. Like, you just can't. There are lines, we go to jail,
Yep.
they're scot free.
Yep.
Like
I hate them lines. Shit.
yeah, you can't
I hate
do it.
Damn lines. Want to go all Hannibal Lecter on their asses.
Something. I want
but-
to do something.
But the confrontations between them start to get more and more elevated throughout the film until eventually it turns into a manhunt between these children and the wife, because the husband has gotten messed up by these kids. And it's such a fun movie to watch, but that feels like a disrespectful word, because it's dreary. It's so just a bummer of a film. And the way that the film ends is where the woman finally gets to a place where she's found a safe haven with other adults, and it turns out that these adults are just squarely on the kid's side. Like they're
They're the family, right? Of
Yeah.
Exactly.
they're the parents and aunts and uncles or friends or whatever, and that's what's uh what was I just gonna say? Makes you think of, what's that movie? I don't know why I didn't write it down, but not Knives Out, or is it Knives Out?
Oh, you're thinking Ready or Not?
Ready or Not is what I'm thinking
Oh
of.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's very
It
fun.
makes me think of Ready or Not, where she's just happy and lovely and cute and just soft, and then she has to become something else completely different by the end of the
Mhm.
film,
Mhm.
because of these monsters, and that's what's
At
great
least
about
at least in Ready or Not, like Samara Weaving, she comes out on top. Like the house is
Oh,
burning behind
yeah.
her. She has a nice great ending.
Yeah.
It does not end that way in Eden Lake for our
No,
main
bro.
character. Like she just gets, it's like she
And
gets
you
thrown
almost
out.
sorry.
No,
Keep
no,
going.
no. It's like she escapes prison only to get thrown into like a lion's den, where like
Absolutely.
now
Mhm.
you've messed with our kids. Like from their perspective,
Exactly.
the whole movie long, these kids are monsters. But then like she finally gets to a safe haven, and it's like, no, now you're the monster for the things that you've done to these
Mhm.
kids.
Well, you
just
could even
hope-
say, oh, sorry.
Mhm. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you could even say that like when they're having a big party, which obviously, when you're at a party, you let your hair down a little bit more, but you could say that some of the things that they're doing at the party, like the kids get it honestly from watching their parents do similar
Mhm.
things.
Right. And it's
Which is
sad.
what's happening. That is
Yes.
what's happening when she gets to the house. The parents are having a party.
Ugh. Yeah, because you feel that like relief when she hears the music and the laughing and the fun, and she gets taken in and the woman's taking care of her, and then you discover that, okay, they're related to these kids in some way or one way or another, and it's probably going to end bad for her, but hopefully this woman who took interest in her and wanted to help her will fight for her, and maybe she won't die. Because once you kind of see that man come in and be like, oh, no, 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 you know, she's bad news, you're like, oh, well, she's done for. But then you're just kind of hoping until the very last minute, until she dies, that somebody will pull for her. But she knows immediately. She, compared to us, she knows immediately when she hears that combatant, that similar tone that she heard from the kids. She knows immediately that her life's about to end. So she's just like, all right, well, what's the biggest way I'm gonna go out as? You know, what am I gonna do to make sure this doesn't end? But we're over here sitting just hoping that she can.
Helicopters come.
Yeah, and it just doesn't happen for her. And again, like Ready or Not, Samara is her name, right? I love that movie so
Samara
much. I
Weaving.
can't remember her name.
That is my number one celebrity crush. Like if I could have one,
Oh yeah,
if I could have
she's
one.
so good in everything she does.
Oh, she's so great. Her and Guns Akimbo, I'm just like, you can do whatever you want to me. Like, you can...
But those kids though, and it's just like that it might be the last shot, it probably is, where he's just looking at himself and he's just like, yeah, like I know I did wrong, I know I did bad, because he's still young. Your brain stops developing when you're 26, legit. You're still forming as a human until you're 26, and this child is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and he's looking in the mirror talking about, like, this was terrible, I know I did bad, I started it and I did all this, but yo, my authorities and my parental figures and all this protected me, and now I just got away with my first murders, and it could have been not his first, but in our minds as viewers, it's his first kills. And he's like, boom, you know, putting on, it's almost like he was putting on his war makeup. He wasn't, he was doing whatever he was doing in the mirror, but in my mind I was envisioning him putting on his war makeup to be like doing that for the rest of his freaking life. Like he was just ready for the rest of his life to do more of that, you know what I mean? So it was just so disturbing and so real, and that literally is happening every single day, and it's terrible.
And that's why
That
I can't
movie
watch
is
that film
terrible.
again.
Oh, you
No.
were one side, you're one and done.
No, the thing is, I love that film. It just scarred me so much when I watched it, because you know you watch some films and they're a new experience for you. Eden Lake was a new first experience of this kind for me. So normally I'm like, I got this couple, like you watch films like Wrong Turn, they always make it out. Even if it's just
Right.
one of them makes it out. No one made it out in this film. And it was just the scene of her like crying in the bathroom behind the closed door at the end.
Yeah.
And just knowing that like it's game over.
She's done. She's done.
Yeah, it's and because thing is, I think that hopelessness fed into me, and I felt like real, like you said, like I felt pure dread and despair, and like hopeless at the end of that film. And the film done its job, but it's to the point where it's like for me, it's a one-off experience, not because it's a bad film. It's a great film. It just done the job too well that I can't actually return to it. Do you know what I mean?
Some movies are like that, dude. I have one movie like that. Like I can watch everything from like vomit, gore, dolls, whatever. Like I really don't mind stuff in film. But there's one movie in particular that I watched one time. I even own it, but I will never like watch it again. I just don't. I can't watch it again. It did too good of a job. It's a movie called The Girl Next Door by Jack.
Oh my gosh, that one. Yes.
I cannot watch that movie again.
So hard. I want to watch it again. I loved it so much, but I'm like, I haven't yet because it's gonna be so hard.
It's a rough one. So I only even own it because I found it in a bargain bin for $5, and I was like, I can't not pick it up. Like I want it in the collection, but I have no desire to rewatch that.
It's almost like someone goes, "Oh, what's this film like? Oh, you can watch it. You want to with me? No, I'm all right. You go ahead, man. It's cool. I'll go upstairs.
Enjoy.
Just on your bed doing this.
Well, you have to be in. Oh, go. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go for it.
I was just gonna say you have to be with some of those, even the ones that are, you know, like you say, that level of movie. You have to be in such a specific mood in order to be able to appreciate what they bring to the table. Like if you're in any other mood except for that one specific one, you're done.
I could watch that knowing I could watch it a second time and third time easily knowing it wasn't true, you know, but the fact that it was pretty much to a T from real life.
What happened?
But even with like untrue stuff, like Human Centipede, for example, it's outrageous and it's crazy, but as crazy as it might be, there is somebody doing something that that or worse, like, oh, it's fiction, it's fine, and that's why I can watch it easily, and that is my excuse for watching Human Centipede and 2, 3, and 4, which not 4 but 3, that I love those movies and Tusk and things like that, but there are people like that, but The Girl Next Door, that story is tragic. So tragic.
And like, again, like, just to piggyback off what Joe said here, like, not a bad movie, far from a bad film, just a hard film to watch. Hard film to watch. Ugh. Like the aunt with like the way that she treats the boys versus how she treats the girls, and then how much you see the girl go through. It's just
too raw, isn't it? Hard. Very raw sometimes.
Very raw. Like I said, only film that I've ever come across that I was like I could watch Megan Is Missing and like sleep like a baby. Like, everything's fine.
I can't watch Cannibal Holocaust.
I refuse to watch that film. It just makes me
I didn't
sick
finish it. I can watch the one without the animal cruelty or the edit, but I have not seeked it out just yet, just because I just keep thinking about that poor freaking turtle. I just can't.
That is a rough scene. I own Cannibal Holocaust. I think it is so boring. I think it's such a boring film. Boring film. Yeah. It's like the Exorcist thing where like people have really like fucking
hyped it up.
Yeah, so that when you actually watch it, you're just kind of like, this is slow. This is kind of hard. And it's funny that like everybody talks about the turtle. You know what I feel bad about in that movie? I feel bad about the squirrel. There's a squirrel in that movie and no one talks about it. And they pick him up by its back, they stab him right in the belly. And that's a hard, because he like on the knife.
Dang it! Why'd you have to say that?
I didn't film the movie. I'm just saying. Everyone talks about the turtle. I wanted people to talk about the squirrel.
You don't want nobody to talk about the squirrel. Nobody wants to see it or talk about it.
It sounds like the uncut version.
You need a shirt that says, what about the squirrel? Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
What about the squirrel? Cannibal Holocaust.
Lord have mercy. No, every animal. Like, even, honestly, Exorcist 3 was pretty difficult. Or, I'm sorry, 2 was hard to watch because of the locust getting stepped on. Like, there was no way homegirl Linda Blair wasn't stepping on a locust or two from the shots that I saw, and I was just
even
like,
Friday the 13th had that, like, they cut the snake in half, didn't they? The real snake.
Sorry, say it again. Sorry.
Friday the 13th, they find that snake in one of the cabins.
No, I can't do that.
Yeah. That was a real snake, and they cut it in half.
I know, I can't. Let's not talk about that one either, because that's an even harder one to talk about than Exorcist.
Welcome to Rainbow Fried Joyful Dream. Animal discipline.
No, I can't do animals, vomits, boogers, poop, which is funny that I like, what's it called? Milo, bad Milo. I like, well, it's the idea of it. I don't see it. I like the idea of it. Like you said, imagination is better than the visual. And that was one of the examples where I can hear the as in vomit, but not see it and be fine. Same with poop. You can do whatever you need to do with it, but I just don't need to see the kernels. I don't need to see
so no over the top, or no toilet shots looking down.
No toilet shots, Lord, please, Jesus. I don't like when I see people wearing clothes sitting on a toilet. I'm like, why are you sitting on a toilet in your clothes? Like, I get you're hiding from somebody. Just stand in the stall. Don't sit on the freaking toilet in the public bathroom.
Okay, so have you ever seen the original Basket Case?
Ugh.
Oh yeah.
I almost watched it. I'm so upset. Like, I almost watched it, but I have not yet.
There's a shot that will leave you cringing hardcore.
Okay.
But the movie itself is amazing. Henenlotter is like one of my favorites. But
dude, same. I love every piece of that man's work. Like,
my god,
a huge Frank Henenlotter fan. I love it all.
So
I love
good.
it all.
So good.
Yeah.
But I highly suggest to just know that there is, toilet trigger in there.
Because I did a review of Bad Milo, and that one came up, and I was like, I know this has been on my list for a minute anyway, and so yeah, I know I need to watch it. But I will once I see a toilet in the view, I'll know to fast forward.
It is
Don't
so
just
ridiculous.
go down like a hole. Oh, go for it.
Hey yo, what's up, Nick? What's up? What's up? Hey, is it a jumper or a sweater, Joe?
It's tea, good old-fashioned tea.
It's a tea. Thanks for being here, Nick. He was also on my horror live last week. My horror psychological game, live stream, whatever you want to call it. Very cool. Yeah. Vomit, bodily functions, like pee is fine, obviously, for me, but that plus the R word, as far as like the action goes, when your body is forced onto another. And then what's my other hard no? Animals, the R word, bodily fluids. Like it's even hard for me to like, even with funny games, when homegirl's crying, when Naomi Watts is crying and she wipes away her snot, I'm like, oh, like everything else, I'm just like, gosh, she's so good, but it's real. That was her actual snot,
Right.
Does that mean you can't watch a lot of pirate films then?
Say it again.
Does that mean you can't watch a lot of pirate films? Because there's a lot of R words in this. I'm so sorry.
Exactly. All of the Pirates of the Caribbean, just couldn't do it.
Feel free to regret your decision.
So I have a question for you, DeRay. How are you with so something is just really slimy? So there's a lot of those beasts that have that whole slime thing. Slime is okay, just if you see someone go.
Totally. No, it's not if they. Well, yeah, I guess if they do that, right? Because they're doing that because it's dripping so hard. But like Slither with all that slime, or like Society had that big old nasty, human blob, which I'm fine with. The Blob is one of my favorite movies of all time. The original, I still need to see the remake, but I love The Blob.
Who's the original again? I forget the actor's name. Oh, he was in
Steve McQueen.
That's the one. Yeah.
And how they always go Steve, like they never refer to him as just like whoever. They're like, Steve, what shall we do? What shall we do, Steve? Hey, Steve, should we go over here and do this thing? Hey, Steve, would you mind kissing my ass? Sorry, God, sorry.
Yeah. What are some other slimy movies that I'm not thinking of that you would wonder if I'm against or
Terror Vision?
Oh, I don't know that one. I haven't seen it.
That's a big giant poop monster there.
Oh, that's probably a no. Probably no.
It's not quite Dogma level like poop monster, but it kind of ranks right up there.
I was trying to think what film a poop monster was from, and you just said it was Dogma. I was like, why is that so familiar to me?
Yeah.
Why have I seen it before in my life? I was like, oh yeah.
I mean,
have you seen
Alien is pretty slimy.
Yeah, that one's fine. What's another one? My friend Randall.
Blair Witch Project. Like there's that one scene where it's like set below her, and all of a sudden you see it drip out, and I'm so scared.
Oh yeah, the snot. Yeah.
Oh, well, that one, yeah, because they made all the parodies of it.
Yeah.
But they didn't gross me out, but it was kind of like, okay, sniff, and then she never sniffed.
I think the one that freaked me out was Drag Me to Hell with Miss Ganush. You know, the bit like all the slime from the lips and all that. Yeah, that was
such a good movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie, but I can't remember that specifically. But I know I was like, I really freaking love this movie after watching it. But that specifically, I can't think of. But yeah, as far as nastiness goes, but like Human Centipede, the first one was whatever. The second one, though, is way harder because it's in black and white. And I love it. So this kind of goes against what I just said. But I think it's just artistically done. It's well done. It's in black and white. And yes, there's poop and blood splurting and splattering everywhere on the walls. Who has seen Human Centipede 2? Okay, 1, 2, and not Triv.
I have 2.
Oh, I have 2. Okay.
I was trying to raise my hand here. Hang on, let me see.
Sorry.
You're strangling that gnome.
Oh, yeah. And Nick is still here, so this is really fun. He just sent this message 8 minutes ago, so this is fun because Yes, I'm not spoiling anything for you, Nick, because you're still gonna have a good ass time. But he got to like a milestone and he watched Human Centipede 1. He's gonna get to his second milestone and watch Human Centipede 2 as a reaction video for his channel. But this is one of my movies that breaks my vomit and poop rule, but it's in black and white and it just goes way harder than the first one where it was just 3 people that homeboy hooked up, and then 2 has just a whole line
A
of
lot
people
more. A lot
lined
more.
up, and the black and white almost made it that much more palatable. But while it did that, it also made it kind of that much more gross for me too. Even though I guess if it was in color, I probably wouldn't have watched it because it would have been too disgusting and graphic. But I guess it goes back to the whole your imagination is better than the real thing. It's like I almost preferred my imagination versus the real thing with that one, because that would definitely be in my top 100 if not 200 horror films of all time, and it
Oh, dude,
breaks my freaking rule.
I will die on the hill that I think that Human Centipede 2 is a masterpiece. I
Yes.
love
Yes.
Human. I'm not big on 1. I think 1 kind of drags. I think it's kind of slow. 3 is not even in the conversation.
No,
Like, what
3 is
happened with
so
3.
dumb. It's not, like
I've never
I've
seen
watched
3.
it. I've watched it maybe 1.5, 2 times, but like I'll show it
Oh,
to a
it's awful.
friend, but I don't want to talk about it.
It's terrible. It's terrible. But
I don't
2,
wanna talk
it's
about
so
it.
funny with 2 because like there are things like, you know, like the poop and like the vomit,
Yeah,
like all the
yeah.
gross things that you say. But that is not; those aren't the things that gross me out. Like
No,
when I
it's
watch that
him.
movie,
It's
it's
him.
when we're in his room, when you see him in his
Yes.
like underwear, like his life with his grandmother like
It's
talking
worse.
about like the smells. That's where it's kind of like, oh, this is just
Ugh.
rough.
Ugh. Just his presence, you know. I can't do it. So I cannot wait, Nick, for your I forget if it was hours or subscribers or what the hell it was, but it's coming up soon and he's going to do not a live. I think I said live a second ago, but he's just going to do a video where he watches, or he's going to do a reaction video where he watches the second film, and I cannot freaking wait because he is not okay with it. All right, so we just spoke about Eden Lake, and I guess we're on our last film. All right, so my second film was Run Lola Run from 1998, a German film. Has anybody seen this film by any chance? Yes, Joe.
So good.
Yes, you saw it, Triv. Did you see it, Mike? I wanted to call you Nick, but Mike.
Mike is
No,
frozen.
he's frozen. Okay.
He is the first of us to be taken. No, Mike.
We miss you, Mike. Come back.
He was so
He's
so
like,
young.
I'll tell you if I've seen this or not. Yes, well, I'm so glad y'all saw this. I saw this one in high school, and I don't know if I had seen too many films before this that had this format, basically, where it was like showing I was just saying a second ago that I wasn't sure how many films I had seen that had this format where it was showing the same thing over again. It was kind of like Funny Games in a sense where you know, you saw one outcome and how it ended, and then you saw a different outcome and how that ended. And so with this film, you get 3 different short stories in a sense, and it's the same character, same story, but they have 3 different outcomes. And the first 2 outcomes, you have one of the 2 protagonists die, and then in the third outcome, you have the happy ending essentially. And spoilers, but no matter what, you are going to enjoy this film every single time you watch it, just like a few of the films we talked about before, because of just how it's done. You know, I love the different perspectives we get, because my big thing is I just love, I'll go back to the summary here in a second, but people are just all individuals, and I just love how we can all have the same event go on around us. Like the 4 of us could be in a room together and have the same events go down around us, but then we all have a different experience, right? And so while that's not necessarily the scenario here, it's just kind of like the butterfly effect. That's a better example, like the butterfly effect with Ashton Kutcher. You have literally one thing different. Like a person goes to the bathroom a minute later, and all the chain of events that go down after that are different because it happened a minute later. And this movie explores that. So the movie immediately starts out with this phone call from boyfriend to girlfriend telling girlfriend Lola, hey, the deal went down incorrectly and now I'm gonna die unless you and I come up with $100,000. And homegirl's like, okay, well, let's figure it out. And he's like, well, if you don't figure it out in the next 20 minutes, I'm gonna rob this store. And she's like, yo, wait, let me figure this out and I'll get us $100,000. He's like, well, you got 20 minutes, figure it out, or I'm in this store robbing it. So then, she hangs up and she's trying to figure out the plan, but 20 minutes is up in the first of 3 stories and he has to rob the store, and then she ends up dead. But then we get to go back in time for no reason. Like in Funny Games, it just happens. And so basically it's psychological in the sense that like we could just write that off as that was just her first train of thought. Or
a different timeline or something.
Exactly. That's one timeline that could have happened. And then the second timeline that could have happened was that she answered the phone again and it went this way instead because she took a minute longer or shorter, rather, because this incident happened. And so then third...
Hang on.
Yeah.
Are you bringing to the table the possibility that like throughout the film, because I think that's interesting, that we see these 3 different scenarios play out because in her own head before they actually go down, it's how she could have mulled over them going
down. Exactly. Because for me,
that's an interesting way to look at it, because I've always been like, why can she heal people? Like, why can she go back in time?
At that moment, it was like those were the options, and we got shown all the options at that time.
That's a great way to look at that.
That is a cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because this has kind of similar, and I think obviously it came out beforehand, but like Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow and John Hannah. Kind of that, not a horror movie, but kind of that same, it splits. And
it's like that episode of The X-Files as well, where there's like the bank robbery, and it's called Deja Vu. And so like there's this woman and she in this bank with a boyfriend, and there's robbery, and a boyfriend gets killed, and Mulder gets killed, and Scully gets killed, and she's reliving the same day over and over again, and it's a bad outcome. But she realizes for life to continue, she needs to die in the bank robbery, and then she dies, and then life continues, kind of thing. So it's sort of
that's actually like Donnie Darko, which I just recorded and uploaded today. That's going to be released tomorrow. Nice. I just watched Donnie Darko for the first time for this subscriber request. It was my first time. So that reminds me of that, even though there's another movie or two that it's reminding me of, that's in the forefront of my mind because of our discussions and things. But with this one though, it wasn't necessarily like her interacting with the future or the past or whatever. It was just what is, like, this is what would have happened if it would have happened within 30 or 45 seconds. Like, that's what's so fascinating to me in just real life in general. Like, if literally I'm sitting here and our live stream ended at 8:30, life would go one way. Right. And the president and the king would be the king of England, and this war wouldn't have happened. But if I would have stopped 5 minutes after, it would have been a different president, a different king, not because of me, but just because of the chains of reactions of just everything. Like, that always fascinates me, in addition to just perspectives of no matter what happens, it's all the same thing, but the 4 of us could be in that same room for 30 minutes, but you're interviewing all 4 of us, and we literally have a completely different story. And that always just trips me out to no end.
Perception is
movie
everything.
Does that. This movie does that so well, as far as like the other characters, like the pregnant and like the father, and like it's so good, like being able to tap into all of them. It's funny that this movie reminds us of so many other movies. When I think of this movie, it reminds me of a movie called Spun. Has anyone seen
Spun is one of my favorites. I love Spun. After Requiem for a Dream. Requiem for a Dream is like probably my number 1, if not a 5. That Spun is, after that one. And just, So freaking good.
Yo, what good back-to-back movies to watch between Requiem and Sun? Like those are
So
perfect.
good.
But it reminds me of that specifically because of like the
Yes.
style that this movie goes with, like being able
Mhm.
to go in from that like animation, like and then go into the
I love that
The
animation.
animation thing, I don't really like that. Like, it's not that I dislike it or I'm
Sun
not
did
drawn
do
to
it better.
but it
Sun
made
did it
me be
better.
like interested. I was like, whoa, I don't care. It freaking works. And it was just, it needed it almost. And at that time as a teenager, I didn't appreciate that stuff until later. But regardless of that, like I still was just so invested and enthralled with this movie, despite what my quote unquote dislikes were at the time. I freaking loved everything about it.
It's
So
also
good.
like a time capsule for the 90s.
Yes,
yeah.
it really is.
It's so
It really
90s.
is. Ugh.
Even the music, like the whole time, I'm just like just bopping along, but like it's like the best music video ever made. You know,
And that was the thing about the music too. It went with the different scenarios. Like you had your Lola death, you had your Manny death, and then you had, the happy ending, and the music fit every part of that, but it was always suspenseful throughout the whole entire thing.
I like the little like as she run past similar people, there'll be like a little like photograph, like ching, and
No,
like,
that whole
Yeah,
thing was
that was
also
cool.
just what made it just so perfect. Like, yeah,
just
you
to
saw
show like
their future because every time she came across those people, her little interaction with them made their
affect their
future
moods.
different. Exactly. Like it was just amazing, and I just really felt that because it's freaking true, whether you want to believe it or not. Like it is just so
No, you're right. Like
freaking true.
it's like if you've been out for like whether you've been out with your family, your partner, whatever you're doing, and you're coming
Yes.
home from a great day, and then you
Yes.
could do something like let's go to the supermarket and grab something to eat, and then you might not do that and might just go straight home because we've got food in the fridge. But then if you go to the supermarket, there might be one thing left, and you both argue about that one thing, and you've ruined your day. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's a stupid little thing. Couple things happens.
100%. Yes.
And you could think, I wish we'd just gone home. I wish we'd just gone home. We've had a great day. We could have just gone home, ordered a pizza. This would never have happened. And
Yeah.
but just from the different moods you're in, bad mood, good mood, like a
Because you would perceive that same situation too. The thing about that is like you could have that same situation go down, and depending on your mood, you'll react to it differently. And that's what's really.
And if you're going into work after, you might be like, "Hey everyone, how was your weekend? I had a great weekend. How was your weekend? Me and the missus, we argued."
And
again.
then other people react to that, and
That's
it just you love that, and then you also hate it because I appreciate the fact that hey, I can adjust a person's mood by just smiling at them, but then I also hate that I could potentially make somebody do something terrible just by not letting them share my ketchup or something, like that just is so heartbreaking to me that little tiny thing that I do could affect somebody that greatly, one way or the other.
Or
you
give
know?
them some eggs or not,
Exactly, a funny game.
Just don't stick your entire hand in someone's ketchup and you'll be okay. You definitely don't like a
That's
pinky
just the rule of thumb,
different. A little pinky dip isn't so bad, but if you stick your whole hand into someone's ketchup, that's gonna ruin their day.
No problem. I mean, no problem. I'm reading Mike's message while I'm replying to you, so my apologies. Telling him no problem, and yes, very true.
I just want to say quickly, I want a Triv app on my phone. Like if I just want one. So like if I'm like, oh god, what should I do? And then I just open the Triv app and I'm like, hey, and you're like, hi Joe. It's like, look, like there's one slice of pizza. What should I do? And I'm like, don't worry, Joe. Get the slice away. You have a better day. And I'm like, thanks, Triv.
My answer to you would always be, go balls to the walls, man. Woo! Sorry.
Well, you guys, I appreciate you so much. I guess I'm going to go ahead and end it right now. I'm pretty bad at outros, but I'm going to get better very, very soon. As my loyal viewers know, this is literally my 6th live in 2 years, so I am definitely getting better and better and better.
Yeah, very, very good at it, because I'll never resist that one.
The people who I have invited have just been friends who I've just communicated with a lot and have just really loved their content and really just love, hearing their point of views and just loved going back and forth with them in comments. And so in the future, I definitely hope to do these more. I'm definitely going to be doing more games because that was just a whole lot of fun. And just more talks about our favorite movies. So thank you so much to Triv, Joe, and Mike. I appreciate y'all so, so, so much. And I invite you back anytime you guys want to come back.
Cheers.
Hashtag, what about the squirrel?
The freaking fry. I think I just blocked that out of my head because the turtle was so dramatic. I don't know if I got to that point or if I just blocked it out or what. But
you could always go he's not squirrely enough for the squirrely something. I don't know. I'll leave now.
Triv app available on all Google stores. Oh God, I've killed her. Yeah, never come to fruition.
Well, happy Halloween, Stardust. I can't wait to see everybody's costumes. Please post them on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever you got. And I will see you in the next one. Oh, wait, Triv and Joe, tell me what your next videos are and where we can find you guys.
You can find me in an interdimensional theater here.
I love it.
Interwebs.
I love it. It's literally so exciting because it's different every single episode, y'all. Like her channel is just so much fun. I laugh throughout the entire video every time I click on it. And please tell us more about it and where we can find you.
Upcoming next, I just did The Lodger, which is a early Alfred Hitchcock movie, and my theater went to plaid, actually went to black and white. But anyway, my attempt at humor. Anyway, so that's terrible. My next one is Curse or Night of the Demons, which is from the 50s.
Okay.
Incredibly good movie. Weird ending, but otherwise very good. Hopefully going to have that out sometime next week. And then after that, I'm hoping to do this Russian movie called Vi, which is a really, really good early Soviet thing, and it's fun and shit. Anyway, sorry, God bless it. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I said it already once, so you're good.
So that's kind of what's up for the rest of the month. You can find me here on YouTube at Trivial Theater, and stop by anytime. There's always tickets at the ticket booth. Popcorn.
Yes, there are.
And you can also see me on Twitter at Trivial Theater. I'm also on Instagram under that same thing, but I'm really bad about posting there. So
yeah, get it.
Follow.
Go ahead, Joe. What you got, Joe?
Dude, you have a
everything.
fancy shirt. That in itself beats anything I got.
Thank you very much. It was
You're
£2. And I'm Joe from Geeky Hijinks. My next video is out tomorrow, and which is I do a bit of I do Shudder reviews, touch on horrors I've never seen before, as well as horror gaming, which is new.
Yeah.
And I have a video on Monday coming out, one tomorrow, but it's the third one of the horror one. And if you want to see a man scream like his life depended on him, that's pretty much it. Honestly, the moment I've done it, I was like, I've just recorded this. This is gonna live. I literally jumped back about 10 meters. I screamed at the top of my lungs. I was like, I've just recorded myself doing that. But
love it.
Just random fun. Pop down if you want to. It's good. Yeah, and also gonna check in with these two lovely ladies as well.
Woo! Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all. Mike, his computer was kind of being a little glitchy, so please check him out. I left his link for his channel in the description, as well as his review for Pearl, which I was featured in, giving y'all the letter of the day. So please, please, please check him out as well. Thank you to all three of y'all, and seriously, I cannot wait to do this again with all of y'all.
Yeah, I'd love to.
You. All right, y'all. Well, until next time. Peace.
Good night.
Adios.